All right. We reconvene from executive session into open session at 6:22 PM, and we will recess until 6:30 PM. Thank you.
See, all you have to do,
No, he's been having fun.
see if you just minimize that,
Okay.
and then you get the test button.
Dave, are we still recording? We're all good?
We're good to go.
All right. City Council reconvenes from recess into open session. And we will start with a Pledge of Allegiance. If you would join me, we will say the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and the Texas flag. Do we still have the Texas flag hanging down there?
No.
Start with the U.S. flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, action items. Council will act as deemed appropriate in city council's discretion regarding A, any necessary action
No
regarding any regular meeting agenda item.
No action.
Action. All right, B, take any necessary action regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of the city manager.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we provide you authorization to sign the contract for the new city manager.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to execute the contract. Any further discussion? All right, this vote requires 5 affirmative votes, so I am going to do a roll call vote. So, council, place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6.
Aye.
And I will vote in the affirmative. Contract will be executed unanimous. And we will go into, we're going to skip ahead a little bit in your programs. We're going to go into action items. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding resolution number 21-1890, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, appointing an individual to serve as the city manager of the City of Lago Vista. And let me get to that. City of Lago Vista, Texas, resolution number 21-1890. A resolution by the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, appointing an individual to serve as the city manager of the City of Lago Vista. Whereas the City of Lago Vista is a home rule municipality operating in accordance with the city charter as amended in November 2018. And whereas, in accordance with section 1.02 of the city charter, the city has a council manager form of government. And whereas, sections 1.02 and 4.01 of the city charter require the city council to appoint a city manager. And whereas, the council conducted an extensive nationwide search for a new city manager who shall be chosen primarily on the basis of his or her executive and administrative training, experience, and ability. And whereas it is the council's desires to appoint a new city manager for the City of Lago Vista and confer all of the duties, responsibilities, and authority assigned the position under the city charter. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, that the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, does hereby appoint Tracy Lavinka as the city manager of the City of Lago Vista. It is so resolved, passed, and approved this 17th day of June, 2021. Do what? Take my vote.
Do we need a motion first? I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 21-1890, Mayor.
I'll second.
All right, I have the motion to approve the resolution and the second by Counselor Weatherly. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the resolution passed unanimous. Tracy, we cannot see you, but I understand you are in attendance tonight on YouTube. I would like to welcome you to the city of Lago Vista on behalf of council and staff. We look forward to working with you. For the citizens out there, her official start date is July 14th. So we're looking forward to Tracy joining us here at our July 15th council meeting. She has already been in touch with some members of the staff and council and is ready to take over as our city manager. And if you'll give me a second, Tracy, I am going to sign the papers right now. So there's the resolution. And there's the contract. All right, it has been signed. I also want to thank Lynn Barboza with SGR, who headed up the search for our city manager. We started with 36, 35 applicants. And over the last 4 months, we narrowed it down to Tracy. And she was our favorite by far. So we welcome Tracy. We thank Lynn for the work she did. Thank council for all the work that they did. Staff who was also involved in some of the hiring interview process. Thank you, everybody. And again, Tracy, welcome to Lago Vista. Oh, you need that? All right, so now we will go backwards in your program. And we go to, where was I? Citizen comments. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, council is prohibited from acting or discussing, other than factual response to specific questions, any items not on the agenda. Since this is our first meeting back in council chambers in 14 or 15 months, I'm going to cover the rules of procedure governing citizen comments. Started doing this a couple of meetings ago just to get prepared for in-house meetings. 6.3, rules governing citizen comments. A maximum of 30 minutes will be devoted to receiving comments from the public on each agenda item. Each speaker is limited to one presentation per meeting and a maximum time limit of 3 minutes on any item except for a public hearing item. No individual may address city council without submitting a speaker card at least 5 minutes prior to the beginning of the meeting. The card must clearly state the subject or issue on which the citizen wishes to speak. If the subject matter does not pertain to city business, the mayor shall advise the individual and/or make recommendations as to how they may get the issue addressed. The mayor can consider comments from citizens that did not submit a request if time permits. Citizens speaking on agenda items shall restrict their comments to the subject matter listed. Citizens speaking on non-agenda items shall only speak on matters pertaining to city business or issues which the council would have the authority to act upon if brought forth as an agenda item. Council may not act upon or discuss any issue brought forth as a non-agenda item except to make a statement of specific factual information given in response to the inquiry. B, recitation of existing policy in response to the inquiry. Any deliberation of or decision about the subject of the inquiry shall be limited to a proposal to place the subject on the agenda for a subsequent meeting. Proper respect, decorum, and conduct shall prevail at all times. Impertinent, slanderous, or personal attacks are strictly prohibited, and violators may be removed from the council chambers. No placards, banners, or signs may be displayed in the council chambers or city hall. Exhibits relating to presentation are acceptable. Arguing, intimidation, or other disruptive behavior is prohibited. Discussion and/or debate are acceptable only on items specifically listed on the agenda. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stomping of feet, applauding, whistles, yells, or any type of disruptive behavior is prohibited. Applause of appreciation may be acceptable when recognizing a significant event or achievement. Council meetings are the workplace to carry out the business of the city of Lago Vista. Therefore, any conduct that could constitute harassment in the workplace is prohibited. And in all cases, the mayor shall preside over the council meeting and ensure that proper conduct and decorum is adhered to. The mayor shall preserve order and decorum, and if necessary, shall cause to be, is that the same thing? I just read that, did I not? Shall cause to be silenced or removed from the council chambers any person out of order or disrupting order of the meeting. That is all. Long list. So, citizen comments. I have several that have signed up. Mr. Crocker, yours is on the agenda, so you will be called at the appropriate time. Darcy, well, I'm sure I will have something. Okay, let's see. Talitha, yours also appears to be mailboxes, so you will be called. And Darcy,
It's on something that was on there, I didn't have time, I tried sending it to you in an email, and it came out in 2 sheets. So
Oh.
It's one of the agenda items.
okay, which one is it?
The new, sound system
Oh, okay,
about the chambers.
so number 9,
Thank you.
chamber, council chambers. Okay, so number 9. All right, well, that is all that I have that have signed up. Is there anybody who did not sign up? I have some time.
I didn't hear my name. Sarah Teal, Sarah and Mark Teal.
Do you have any more sheets? That's all I have. But
You signed up out there, should I go get it from the Yeah, sorry. It's our first time here, so. I apologize.
all right, sorry about that.
No, no worries.
All right.
A question?
Agenda item 12, clarification on wording and document. So the item number 12. Okay, so I will save that one as well. All right, so anybody that hasn't signed up who would like to speak, if you have a question or something, please approach and address the council. If you would, please state your name for us.
My name is Harold Wheat Bailey II. I live at 2008 Omaha Drive. I'm here with the contingent from that area relative to mailboxes. My question, however, is if we haven't signed up in the public forum section, if we have time, can we just approach basically?
I will
the
call you.
microphone? Thank you.
If we get to be 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I may cut you short.
Don't worry about it.
But no, usually we have time, and I'll reach out to people who didn't. All right, was there anybody else who did not sign up who would like to address council? All right, we will go into items of community interest. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0415, the city council may report on any of the following items: expressions of thanks, gratitude, and condolences, information regarding holiday schedules, recognition of individuals, reminders regarding city council events, reminders regarding community events, health and safety announcements. Let's see, what do I have on my list? Our next council meeting will be July 1st. And then that Saturday, July 3rd, we will have our annual 4th of July events. but it will be on the 3rd of July. So make note, it's on Saturday, July 3rd, not the 4th. We will start with a 5K race out at Barquet. I expect to see all my council members out there running. I have created a team. You can sign up under Mayor's Team. Then we have the parade, which goes right down Dawn Drive here. And then the rest of the events take place at Barquet Park. Concert, food vendors, all that good stuff, followed with the finale of fireworks by Big Dog Productions, I believe it is, this year. So July 3rd. Let's see. I have a list from my public information officer. Let's see, Red Cross Blood Drive at Rolling Hills Church, Friday, June 18th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, June 19th, Lago Vista and Point Venture Lions Club Blood Drive at CVS Pharmacy. So it looks like we're having blood drives 2 days in a row, Friday and Saturday. Thursday, June 24th, Capital ABC Funding Mortgage Ribbon Cutting Ceremony at 3 p.m. 18604 FM 1431 Suite J. Which building is that? Do we know? Is that the Casey building?
I think it's Casey building.
I think it's the building in Jonestown is where he is.
Jonestown. Oh, it is, say Jonestown. I should have continued reading.
Yeah.
Okay,
I saw him at the chamber at lunch the other day.
all right. Well, there's a ribbon cutting in Jonestown on the 24th. Tuesdays and Fridays, we have water aerobics at the Lago Vista City Pool. Noon to 1. It's $1 per class. No reservations required, no signups. Don't forget your life jacket if you need it. For more information, there is a number to call. I'm sure if you just call City Hall, you can get the information on the water aerobics. Beginning in September. Okay, let's hold off on that one. I've already done the 4th of July. Green Center. Green Center has changed for the month of July because of the first Saturday being July 3rd, and that's when we're doing all of our stuff. Green Center will now be open on Thursday, July 10th, and Saturday, okay, this is not right. Thursday is July 8th, Saturday is July 10th. So Thursday, 7 a.m. to 4, Saturday, 10 to 4. So it's the second Thursday and second Saturday for the July. Cooling shelters, just note, we do have cooling shelters available in case we have any power outages during our high heat and if we should happen to have any rolling blackouts. You can either call the Lago Vista non-emergency PD number, or you can call the Travis County ESD 1 for assistance. The last thing I have, this is a very important one. I will be reading this one several times over the next couple of months. To the citizens of Lago Vista, utility late fees cut off for non-payment and payment plans. This past year has been a difficult one for many of the citizens in our community. When COVID first reared its head, no one anticipated the vast number of people who would eventually be affected, whether from illness, death, or loss of income and jobs. Some people were affected by all of these events. As an attempt to help lessen the stress on citizens in our community, city management made the decision in April 2020 to immediately stop all late fees, credit card fees, and cutoff for non-payment on all city services for at least 6 months, or until the pandemic was under control and the economy started to stabilize. Many of our citizens who desperately needed relief benefited from these measures. Just as COVID seemed to be getting under control, the entire state of Texas experienced the worst winter storms in decades. Many of our local citizens suffered damage to their utility lines and homes, which caused significant leaks and property damage. Leak adjustments were made to customers' utility accounts on a case-by-case basis. City staff further recommended and City Council approved a modification to this year's winter averaging to include 4 winter months, usage instead of 3, and to automatically use the 2 lowest months usage for each individual customer. The new winter averaging sewer rates took effect on utility bills due June 2021. Throughout the winter storm's recovery, the city continued to waive late fees, credit card fees, and cutoff for non-payment on utility accounts. It now appears that the country as a whole, the state of Texas, Travis County, and the city of Lago Vista are now moving forward post-pandemic, and most of our local citizens have gotten leaks repaired to their utility lines so that their usage has returned to normal. In view of that, council voted during the April 1st, 2021 council meeting to rescind the relief measures started in April of 2020. Beginning in the month of September 2021, the city will again start billing a $15 late fee for past due balances and will resume cutting off utility accounts after 2 months of non-payment. During the next 2 months, city staff will be available to work with our customers to set up payment plans to arrange to pay off past due balances to avoid cutoff. The payment plan is flexible and requires that the customer work with staff to devise a plan that the customer can manage. It is signed and notarized by the customer and staff. During the term of the payment plan, no late fees will be charged to the customer's account. The terms of a payment plan require that the customer pay the past due portion of their payment plan plus their current month's bill in full by the 15th of the month each month to avoid additional late fees or cutoff. If payment is not received by the 15th day of the month, or if account is cut off for non-payment, the payment plan becomes void and a $50 reconnect fee plus the balance in full on the account must be paid to reinstate the account. If your utility account is in arrears, city staff members are here to help you. Please call city at 267-1155, option 4, to speak to utility billing staff to see if a payment plan can help you get your utility account current. Whew. That is all I have. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add? Yes, sir.
I just want to add some clarification to the Lago Vista and Point Venture Lions blood drive Saturday. It's by appointment only, and we filled all the appointments. We did that this past Tuesday, so I just wanted to say thank you to the North Shore once again for stepping up for this event. Great thing.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. Anybody else? Shalane, we have any school updates this time? Guess not. School's out, huh?
That's right. Yep. For a
School's
successful
out
close of the school year.
for summer. Anybody in the audience have any items of community interest that they would like to share with us and the people watching at home? All right. We will go into action items. And we're going to skip ahead again, and we're going to start with agenda item number 9. Let me go to number 9. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding an update to the City of Lago Vista Council Chambers. The IT department has heard of numerous requests from council members that they wished our audiovisual system could do more than it currently does. Also recently, we have had failings in recording audio. Because we are now a court of record, we cannot have any failings of audio in trials. Since we began the chamber's audiovisual system, which was back in 2015, it has performed well and now is approaching 6 years old and can no longer fulfill the needs of our current climate. The IT department and communications department began looking for ways to upgrade our systems, and then we have found a company that will do this for us. The company is called Swagit, and they offer a turnkey system to meet our current and any future needs we have. They offer a 4 HD pan, tilt, and zoom camera solution that they will record, upload, and archive to the city's website. Agenda integration with the live video player, indexing of recorded video, unlimited storage, transcripts, closed captioning of recorded video. Swagat has multiple customers in Texas local government, and we have included a short list in the packet, as well as a detailed proposal from the company. Their turnaround is estimated 45 to 60 days after signing the contract. Staff is available for questions. I will make a note. Tonight is just discussion, presentation. Anything, if council ever decides we want to move forward on something like this, we would have to follow the procedures of RFQ and bids and stuff like that. So we do have the information from Swagat because that is who they met with. And do you have more to present? I think, do we have Swagat? Swagat,
No, Mayor, thank you. No, we don't have Swagat available
Okay.
to make any presentations.
I'd heard that they might be, but I wasn't sure, so.
They would have to physically come here from Dallas and the short notice wouldn't
Okay.
work.
Okay,
But everything is in the packet regarding the proposal. I'm not aware of other companies out there that offer this full situation that we have regarding, and they have a lot of cities, municipalities that they do. As far as the money goes, we have the money in the current IT budget to purchase the hardware. But I believe Meredith has a short PowerPoint presentation that I did download for her. And I can put it up on the screen for her.
all right. So while she's doing this, council will be thinking, you
Yeah,
know,
if you guys have any questions with the proposal,
because, you know, as we sit here, we, you know, over the time, we have discovered, you know, we want to integrate, we like the YouTube, but we also like the go-to. And so we're trying to come up with a system that gives us much more flexibility. It's also, it mentioned the closed captioning for our hearing impaired, things like that. So y'all be thinking about, you know, things that we want to be able to present to the audience as we're sitting here.
Well, Mayor,
Meredith?
council, in a past council meeting, there was a discussion between all of you, and some items came up that you thought we might consider to improve how we communicate what goes on here in council and in other meetings. But council was the number one meeting that we were concerned about. Our problem has been that we have very long meetings, and if people are interested in a certain item on the agenda, it takes time, and it's certainly an arduous process for them to scroll through the hours on the recorded video to find the subject that they're looking for. Using a meeting agenda as a guide, Swagat indexes the meeting without any work from the city. You can go to the next.
would you like this?
Yes, I will. I'm expecting you to do my work for me.
There you go. I think you went to the end.
Here we go.
So just point it towards me.
I shall. So, as I was saying, using the media agenda as a guide, Swagat indexes the meeting recording, without any work from the city. It will annotate content by adding jump to points. So as the users go through the agenda or in the recording, not in the live streaming, if they go through the captioning or the manuscript, they can click on different words and it'll immediately take you to that time-coded spot in the meeting where the mayor is talking about XYZ. So there's no searching and trying to find it. It's also interesting because as you let the video continue to run, you can see off on the right-hand side the words in the transcript being highlighted as it's speaking. Just kind of good for even our Spanish speakers, you know, if they're learning some English. Let's see here. So here's just an example from Flower Mound. They do a couple things that I really like. And first of all, you can see the top left corner is the new city manager being sworn in. So that's sort of apropos for today. On the right-hand side is a meeting index as well as a tab for the full agenda and then a tab for where you share it. So right now it's clicked on the item G2, and that's where the video is on, also G2. So if you were to click down to items I through K and selected something from there, then the video would fast forward to that point. Up on the middle of those three tabs, it says full agenda, and that would open up to a full agenda just like what our city secretary puts up. And then if you go over to the share, it pops up a screen where you can see how you can share it to other websites by embedding a code, or you can share it directly with your social media. I think I have a page in there coming up soon. Okay, this is Denton, Texas, and this shows how they're viewing the full agenda on the right-hand side. So people can scroll down the agenda, and they can even use the packet too. It doesn't have to be the short agenda, and they can have that and be watching everything that's going on, and can go back to click on the video index saying, oh, I want to go back and hear what it said about considered adoption of an ordinance, la, 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 number B, letter B. I believe they have just these two options of share agenda and share the video in this screen. So we were talking about problems with how we're communicating so far and about possibilities of what we could do. So here's one. There's no captioning for our hearing impaired citizens. Well, Swagit offers live and post-meeting captioning, and the post-meeting captioning is what becomes the full transcript. And like with video indexing, clicking on the words in the transcript will also trigger the time code in the video when these words were actually spoken. So if something catches your eye in that transcript, boom, it'll take you right to where you want to go, and you can hear the whole discussion. And remember, the words will be highlighted as the person speaks them. That's for the hearing impaired. Okay, problem. Especially with these long meetings, it's difficult to quickly communicate all info to citizens about what was said in the council meeting last night. The citizens can easily read the transcript online or download it and read it, or make notes on it and file it away in their home offices or junk drawers. They can share with their friends and neighbors, and people can really get a feel for what's going on in our meetings without having to come here. We know a lot of people work or the schedules just don't match up. So this is a way they can get everything that they need so they can see what's going on. Again, citizens can watch the recording and use the video indexing feature to quickly watch only the parts that they're interested in, and not all the time everything that they're interested in. Gives them a lot of choices. So our current system, and this is more Dave Street kind of IT equipment side of things, but as you'll notice, if you look on YouTube videos, our current camera setup, we do have a picture-in-picture setup, but we can see you fairly clearly, but the camera that's right there pointing to me and the audience shows us as just a little head so you can't really see who we are. Now, with the system that Swagat is proposing, they have new cameras put in, several positions, and that's yet to be seen where they put them, that are all on at the same time, and they're all connected to Dallas. And in Dallas is a production director, a real live guy production director. And he watches the meeting and he says, "Oh, Mr. Weatherly is going to be speaking next." And he focuses on you, and then he puts a banner at the bottom saying, "Dick Weatherly, council member." And then if someone here starts talking, he'll pop back over to this camera and say, "Meredith Kunch is talking." And back and forth and back and forth. So it makes it easier to remember and see who is saying what. And I think that's really important. The other thing is you'll be able to see the person out here because it'll be a close-up shot. They'll be zoomed in as a whole screen.
Some people may not like that.
I know. Well, let's just not keep it, HD or super HD. Yeah, I'm not going to watch the YouTube video of this. Okay. Okay, problem. Staff resources are limited to address all communications features in which council is interested. But Swagat is a full-service solution requiring little, if no, city staff involvement. They also have backups. They also have maintenance. They have everything doubled and tripled security and all that. So it does help us in terms of trying to do something, but not being able to do it well enough because we don't have the resources. So we have a feature, and the feature is providing citizens an easy way to share our meetings, which may be arduous and clunky, and I didn't write that quite perfectly. Pretend I said problem. But the benefit is that Swagat provides a share feature that creates a link to embed on other sites, download, or share to social media. And I'll show you what I mean. So this is a screenshot from Argyle, Texas. And you can see on the left is the meeting in progress. Down on the bottom is where they have the video indexing. They have clicked the 3 tabs up there. You can click meeting index, you can see the whole thing. You can click full agenda, you can see the whole thing. All of this while the video is going. And it's going live and archived the same way. But you can also click share up there. So you can share it to Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. There's your link. If you want to embed it on your own website, say maybe the chamber wants to embed the video on their website, they can do it by swiping that code. If you want to download the video, you can, and share it to whomever. Your mom might like to watch it. My mom does, so. And I think that's it. Short and sweet on just the main topics of some of the things that you had looked at or had spoken about. And I'm more than happy to address any of these before we go to the technical part of things.
Does this meet all the requirements for our records retention?
Yeah, absolutely, Mayor. They have unlimited storage, so until YouTube close the lid on that, we're good right now, but YouTube could any day close the lid and say, we're not keeping your videos anymore, you gotta pay us for them.
So they make the promise not to go anywhere. They also offer an encrypted service that would be appropriate for court.
Do we have any idea what the cost would be to implement the system?
Yes, we do.
Yes, sir, it is in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah, and it also has an extra component just for the court, because the court cannot be streamed out live. So there is an extra component on there that just keeps it in-house, that we will store on our NAS devices, and we can keep it for as long as we like, but it still has all the same features. I may, or one of my staff members can sit in the other room and control the camera system the same as a director would. You could zoom in on the judge as he's making, or you can zoom in on the defendant, or you can, the attorneys. And it'll all be kept in local storage because it cannot go out live.
Thank you.
Being able to put the stuff on our website, is it gonna take some integration work, and will they do that for us?
No, sir, they will do that for us.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I thought I saw in the proposal that captioning is included in that quote they provided. It seems like it's an extra service, and my question is it within the budget that we have allocated?
Yes, the live captioning is an extra service.
Okay.
Because they actually use a live person to actually transcribe it as it's going, and it does cost a lot of money to do the live.
I figured as much, yeah.
The after meeting, archive meeting is closed captioned after the fact, and that is included in that price on the packet.
Okay. And our intent, the way that we're gonna use this, we would have that person in Dallas being the controller. Our staff would not be doing that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question on the captioning.
Yes.
I saw in the packet that it was limited to 50 meetings per year
Per year, yeah.
for the captioning. So would those be limited just then for like the main city council meetings, since that would take about the 50 that we would be allotted per year? And if so, what kind of captioning would there be, if any,
Okay,
for any of
Mary,
the other meetings?
The one way you saw for 50 meetings is the add-on extra for live captioning.
Oh, okay.
The 75 meetings, which we have had quoted, that is for closed captioning for all of the meetings after that have been archived. So not as they're going live, but when they're archived and put onto the city website, all of those will have closed captioning included. We did say 75 meetings, and the way we came up with that number is there's normally 2 council meetings per month.
Right.
There are normally 2 P&Z meetings per month, 1 Board of Adjustment, and 1 Building and Standards. And we added those up, and we come up with about 70 meetings per year for all of those of the big 4 that have jurisdictional. There you go, regulatory authority. All other meetings can be recorded inside the chambers. It would just take a staff member to be here to record them and do the close-ups and manage the cameras. The big meetings are the ones that we can have managed outside, which then they will be indexed and archived. We can do all that in-house also, but it would take a staff member to be here to do those.
You may want to include in your count extra budget meetings that we have every year. Those would be pretty important, I think.
And we can à la carte them if there are extra at the end of the year. At the end of the proposal, it gives you a price per meeting if you go over.
Yeah. so
We do have 4 categories that we can go with, and they are tabs. I don't have the image here, but they're tabs just like what you see kind of up there. Flower Mound has one tab, which is live, so it shows the active live meeting. Then it has city council archived meetings. Then it has planning and zoning meetings. And then it has all other meetings. And then it has a last thing called programs. And so I looked into programs, and that's where all the special media is, he says. And special media would be things like videos of parades, of state of the city addresses, of, Lions Club blood drive, anything like that, Lago Fest, that sort of thing. So they're special media, and we get 120 hours of special media each year. that's included.
Yes, sir.
It has the closed captioning. Is there any translation service into Spanish through this? Is that something that's
I
available?
didn't ask about. That is something I didn't ask
Well,
about.
we do have a growing population of Spanish-speaking citizens, and it's something I would certainly want to know if that is available to us and what the price on it would be.
Sure, we can definitely ask about that, sir.
We can ask about that, and if they don't include it, then I'm sure there are other services who would be able to do something like that, and we could possibly get quotes for that.
Mayor, you mentioned this is not something for us to take action on, but we do want, well, I think we're gonna want the staff to go out and put it out for bid. Will we need to make a motion to authorize them to do that, or just give them the direction?
Yes, you're exactly right. We can't take action on swag it.
Right.
But we can take action to direct staff to put out an RFQ.
Okay, and Dick, we can say, we want part of their qualifications to be, give us some information on Spanish translation. As part of that.
Yeah, and anything else that y'all might want to, make sure we give them directions. Yes, sir.
So I looked at their website and spent a little bit of time. I looked at the Bel Air, city of Bel Air, just as an example, and I actually watched a planning and zoning and a city council meeting and jumped around. And, people used to say, this is the Cadillac of products. I think it's the Ferrari of products. It's an amazing product. It's definitely a bit pricey. So the first question I would have is, what else did you all look at? I know there's products from Cisco, there's products probably from, a whole bunch of other companies out there that may not have as rich a feature set, but frankly, if they're a lot cheaper, may be a better solution for us. So what other possible solutions were considered?
Well, what we did was we looked at cities nearby us. We always start with home to see who's doing what around in our Central Texas area. And we came across Swagat, and yes, they do seem to be the Ferrari. And so it was interesting just to go to them right away to see the extensive amount of services they provide. So we know what can be done, so that when we go to other places, we have a good comparison point of, well, oh, but do you do this too? Do you do that too? So we can kind of use them as a guideline and see where the others follow.
So you didn't specifically look at any other companies
I
besides
look,
Swag?
no, I did not approach any other companies.
No, but
And that's what the RFQ would do.
Yeah, and I would suggest that if we're going to do an RFQ, we need to be careful to make the RFQ broad enough so that some other companies' solutions actually meet the requirements. If we set up requirements that Swagat is the only company on the planet that meets them, it's not much of an RFQ, right? So some of the features which we're seeing here tonight, I suspect, are not supported by others. But I'm not sure we need them. I mean, they're nice to have, but depending on how much they cost, we may or may not want them. There's already been some comments about the limits of number of meetings. Right now, I understand the math that was suggested for 75. We currently on the YouTube channel are also filming a lot of other meetings, right?
Right.
And so I think we would need to have a proposal from staff of what to do for those other meetings. Will the same hardware support video for those? Would we still upload those to YouTube? I'm talking, the golf course committee and the EDAC and others that are don't have regulatory authority.
What I'm currently understanding, and forgive me if I'm wrong, we did ask about that, because certainly there's a limit to what you're going to pay.
Yeah.
And so with regard to all the other meetings, he said, again, step in if I'm misremembering, he said that, we can go ahead and record those. There won't be a production manager in Dallas switching cameras, but we can do that and then upload them, and fine and dandy, we have those.
Yeah, so that's good. I think that kind of information may be appropriate to include in the RFQ. We need to have the ability to use the equipment for other meetings with city staff. Or
Right.
however you folks want to
Right.
propose it.
And then we would just make sure to compare how that would limit us in features if we were the ones to, to do the recording.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think maybe the direction we want to provide to staff is, we want to know, we want to put out for RFQ for video recording systems that meet Texas record requirements.
Right.
And kind of a bare minimum, and that way we can get all kinds of vendors potentially putting something forward.
Yeah.
Well, at least
Likes me.
At least he knows to come after you and not me.
Yeah, exactly, I don't know.
Any questions for Dave about the financials or the setup of equipment that they provide?
No, sounds good.
I just have
Thank
one
you.
clarifying question, Mayor.
Sure.
Would it be an RFQ or an RFP?
RFP.
RFP?
P.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too.
Qualification. P is
Right.
proposals.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because if we have to make a motion, we want to make it correctly.
Motion.
Yes.
Yes.
It's so confusing.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, well, thank you, Meredith.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks you.
Darcy? I believe this is yours.
Darcy DeVoe, 20223 Travis Drive. I was just wondering, will this give you the ability that if someone's on a go-to-meeting, if this is on a go-to-meeting, and let's say I was at home, I could ask a question from home? Because right now, nobody would be able to because it's live. So can you do that with this? Who do I ask, you?
Yeah. You can
I don't think you know.
Direct it to us and
I
then
don't
I'll say,
think you know.
"Sir, can you answer
I know
that
it's
for me?"
Dave.
Yes, Mayor. Funny enough, that is one of the questions I asked them today, and yes, they can accommodate. It's a hybrid meeting, but yes, we can have a live meeting that's being recorded and have a go-to running in the background so that citizens could participate from the go-to meeting at the same time as a live audience.
Great. And then my second question is, would more people be trained how to use this just besides them? Because it's like, if they're holding your film, are they holding it on their server or you're holding it in your servers? Okay. And then also, because if they're running the meeting and something happens, how would, like, you get the meeting back online if they're doing it through their systems? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if the system's running and let's say Dallas has some big problems with thunderstorms or something, and they can't get logged on, and they're down, would our meeting just go to nothing?
No, Mayor, the only way the meeting would go out is like that time when you all were sitting in the dark when the power went out.
All right.
So if the power goes out or your internet is cut, that is when the meeting will drop.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
But we have all experienced that sitting in the dark and wondering what's going on. And I think it was just Erin was there with her.
Right. I remember. And besides that, I think this is a great idea that people can, because not everybody can get here at a certain time, and it does make it difficult. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Darcy is the only one that I had signed up. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to make a comment? All right, I'll bring it back to council then. If there's any action to be taken, I'll entertain
Mayor?
it. If not, yes.
I make a motion that we instruct staff to put this out for a RFP, and return that to the council.
Second.
All right, I have, yes.
I would suggest a modification or amendment to the motion to include that the RFP be focused on audiovisual solutions that meet the requirements of the state of Texas.
You agree
I
with
will
that?
go
All
along with that moment, with that.
right. Who was my second?
Needs to-
I think Shalane, or
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter me either. Me or David, if it's me, that's fine with me.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, motion carries unanimous. And we will go back to agenda item number 4. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the U.S. Postal Service delivery in Southwest Lago Vista. All right, so for a couple of years now, we have had no curbside delivery in certain parts of Lago Vista. Based on the postal operating manual that was originally published in 2002, the local postmaster has determined that they do not have to provide curbside mail delivery to new residents in an existing part of Lago Vista, even though there are existing mail routes serving the area. We're here tonight to get direction, or to give me direction, on action for the city and citizens of Lago Vista to acquire a level of service that we believe will benefit our customers. In your packet, this was also brought forward from our April 1st agenda. So some of the maps that I showed have been included, and then some updates on what our city engineer has put together. And I've talked to several of the citizens that are in attendance tonight, and with the issues that we were having with this service. So according to their operating manual, the responsibility for mailboxes falls on the developer, and then it's taken over by the HOA. Well, the problem we were having was, this is old Lago. This is not a new development. This is not Lakeside at Tessera. This is not an apartment complex. This is old Lago. The lots were platted in the late 60s, early 70s. They've had addresses. These were existing lots. It was our belief that the Postal Service should extend service that was already within just a few streets of this area, just extend the route to include these houses. But their stance is no, all new buildings, even individual single-family residents must now move towards these community box units. But we don't have a developer. We have several builders in Lago Vista, but we don't have a developer. So that wasn't an option. And then we don't have an HOA. We do have a POA, but we don't have an HOA. Our POA does not cover the entire portion of Lago Vista, even old Lago Vista. So, there's issues with, coverage, if the POA takes on this responsibility. So I had several questions that I wanted the Postal Service to answer, and those were, whose property are these community box units? Who owns these community boxes once they've been set? I will go back and say that the Postal Service has finally agreed to pay for the slab to put these boxes up. They have already bought the community box units. They're going to pay for the installation. They say this is a one-time thing. They will not do this again. It's on the developer or the HOA to do it in the future. But they are going to do it. So then I asked, well, whose property is it once they have been set? Does the city take responsibility? You know, are we responsible for the maintenance on them or the repair? You know, if for some reason a door gets broken off of it, you know, who pays to fix it? If a car runs off the road and takes it out, who's responsible for that? You know, if a kid accidentally gets his finger caught in the door and has to go to the hospital for stitches or a broken finger or something, you know, who's liable? You got a family that doesn't necessarily have insurance and they're looking for somebody to pay for their medical bills. So who's liable for any injuries? Let's say a storm comes through or let's say a car runs into one on a Friday night and it's damaged and it's off the concrete slab. Somebody pulls up Saturday morning and the box unit falls over and damages their car. You know, who's liable for the damages to the car? Is it the city? So these were some questions. Who does the maintenance? You know, is it us? Is it the post office? When's it going to be done? Is there a requirement, 24 hours, 72 hours, 30 days? How is the damage reported? And who's it reported to? What happens if they're damaged and your mail gets stolen? Who's responsible for any theft in these that occur in these boxes? Just so y'all know, we're limited as a city because our revenues are produced by ad valorem taxes, unless it's something like utility fees or something like that. But for something like this would be general fund revenue. Well, the city cannot use general fund revenues to pay for certain things that only benefit a small portion. Everything we spend money on is supposed to be intended to the benefit of the entire community. So, you know, my question to the post office was, where do I get the money? I don't have those kind of funds to pay for these things for 40 households. So where would we get the money to pay for this? And then I had some other questions, like, this is our first community box unit. Where does the next one go? You know, for the residents that are coming in later down the road. Braun Homes actually offered up a piece of land for this CBU, but where's the next one? You know, who's got the land? Who's gonna give up a piece of property? If it goes in the right of way, is it gonna be in somebody's front yard? You know, who wants to have a house that has, let's see, this proposed one here has 8 boxes in it, times 16 mailboxes, that's 128 households that's gonna be pulling up in your front yard to access these community boxes. So those were the questions that I had. Believe it or not, I actually got a phone call from San Antonio at about 8:15 this morning. I do not have anything in writing from them yet, but according to the woman that I spoke with on the phone, the post office is responsible for everything that I just listed. They own the boxes, they're responsible for maintenance, they've got tort lawyers for any kind of lawsuits that might come. So I don't have anything in writing yet, but I do feel comfortable that, the post office will accept responsibility for those. I have gotten with our city engineer. In the packet, there is a site plan that we will be sending to the Postal Service once I'm given direction. Right now, to start with, it will include the slab and the box units there on Crystal Way. We will be seeking out a 15-foot,
It's 22, Mayor.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's 22 feet.
Okay, so our right-of-way plus an additional 15 feet from Braun Homes on this lot. Because this is a corner lot, that side right away that, or setback there is 25 feet, so we believe we can set these boxes on the side of this lot. In the future, we'll be able to carve out a little separate lane there so that people stopping to get their mail can actually get off the road, because this is not far from Boggy Ford Road. So we don't want at 6 o'clock, cars backing up all the way into Boggy Ford while people are stopping to get their mail. So we're hoping to provide a little pull-off. That's a future item, though. That will not be immediate. But we will be providing this site plan to the post office so they can at least get the boxes set. There is a couple of letters that I will need authorization to sign, releasing the property to the post office for their use. We're also putting it back off the road a little bit because we have cable, water, sewer, everything that runs through there, and we do not want those boxes on top of any type of utility, because I don't want Spectrum cable coming in and digging that up and tossing them off to the side while they do their work. There's also a mode of delivery form that I am required to sign for the Postal Service so that they can actually make this delivery. The only thing I really still do not know, again, other than not having something in writing that says they are responsible for everything, is who's going to be responsible for future things. I think we will be addressing that with other entities in Lago Vista to see how we can maintain this going forward. I don't know a time frame, but when we had our meeting with the Postal Service 2 years ago, I believe it was, they had stated that their goal was eventually to get rid of all curbside delivery in Lago Vista. So the entire city eventually will be using community box units. So where are they going to go? These are things that we still have to answer for future development. I don't know. We'll work on that. I don't know. Again, I don't know their time frame. It could be 5 years. It could be 20 years. I don't know that. But, so that is where we're at right now. If everything goes well, depending on direction tonight, hopefully we'll be able to provide the site plan to the post office and the letters by early next week, and they're ready to start work on it. So hopefully by sometime next week, they can start pouring the slab if everything is approved. Questions, comments from council? Yes, sir.
So you said this is going to have 128 mailboxes in there. Do we know how many currently built homes would not be included by this and are not getting mail delivery service? I think it's a
We do not have
fairly wide-
128 right now. So we're under that number right now. But with our growth, who knows how long it's going to take before we exceed this. With this site, can we expand it? I'm sure we can. I know the goal for the post office is to keep the CBUs within a half mile of your home. But again,
And that was kind of where I was going with my question. Are there some houses that would be covered by this CPU that are more than a half mile away from it? Do we know?
I don't know that for sure, but it's possible. Only because this is the only piece of property we've identified to place one. Another possibility is once this box gets set up, some of the existing homes may get transferred. So people in that area that are getting curbside delivery may lose that ability.
That was a question I was going to ask, Mayor. Has the post office identified all the addresses that correspond to the 128 boxes, or has that not been determined yet?
That has not been determined yet. Right now, it's just the ones, the new builds that don't,
Aren't getting delivered?
they have not they have not said anything about existing homes yet. But when you read through their operating manual, it outlines the procedures for transferring. So, that could be a possibility.
And I'm assuming the post office will completely control who gets assigned to those boxes and has to transfer?
Yes, they have to actually, notify the customer, and the customer has to sign off on the transfer. Now, if they don't sign off, I don't know what happens. You just lose your mail.
Got a feeling the post office is gonna do what it wants to do.
Yeah. Yes, I think so as well.
Just a clarifying question, I'm not finding this picture in the packet. I can see Crystal Way. What's the other cross street that we're looking at?
Omaha.
Omaha. Thank you.
2001 Omaha is the actual address of that lot. Let's see. These were the ones that didn't come in to me till today, so we added them late. And we actually even sent them in a separate email as well.
Yeah, I probably have it. I just wasn't finding it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at right now.
Okay.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? All right, well, I will go to the audience then. I do have a couple that have signed up to address council. Talitha Wheatley.
Hi. First time meeting.
All right, if you would, please state your name for the
Talitha
recording.
Wheatley. I just closed on my home February 11th, and I was already frustrated. And a lot of this is complaints, by the way, so I'm going to leave a lot of that out since it's getting resolved. I'm so happy for that. Thank you. And also, I wanted to thank you for your responses to the emails and also Facebook posts. That was huge, so I appreciate that. But I did drive around the neighborhood the other day and counted all the homes within Omaha, Owens Cove, Crystal Way, Oxford, and Orwell Cove, or Orwell Circle, and that's 76 homes. So even if, what was it, 120 something? I feel like they could also build another box, make it L shape or something for the additional homes possibly. Like, it would all fit on that lot. So I feel like that's a solution that the USPS would take care of. Regarding like if it costs extra money for the USPS to deliver out there, I feel like the time saving of these 76 homes currently going to the USPS, waiting in line for the disgruntled employee to go back, and she even said that she was pissed off because she keeps tripping over the CBUs that have been there for 4 years. So I don't want to hear that every time I go to the post office to get mail. And then I thought of another idea, if it's cost savings for them to come out like maybe 2 or 3 times a week to deliver mail to these CBUs versus every single day, I think we'd be okay with that as a happy medium, like we just don't want to, I mean, for me, it's a 17-minute drive to the post office and then to only wait in line between these people that have to get these packages out. I'm like, I'm just here to get my mail, and I feel bad holding up the line, and they're all, like I said, going to the back, get our mail. And one time I got Owens Cove mail. I'm like, no, it's Omaha, and they had to go back and get it again. Anyway, so that was, and I've only been here since February, and I love it, except for this. And some of these people have been waiting 4 years, so I'm really glad to hear it's like really actually happening. Let me look at my quick notes.
Yeah, it's
real
really
quick.
sad because we didn't even know there was a problem for about 2 years of that. It wasn't until, I guess Braun brought it to our attention that they were getting pressured by the Postal Service.
And yeah, I contacted Braun as well. They're like, our hands are washed. We bought the property. And I feel like that would be, the USPS responsibility if, they have already accepted to buy the boxes. And then anything that happens to the land would be Braun because they own the land. So I feel like it's pretty cut and dry as far as that stuff goes. Sorry, I made a lot of lists here. When you mentioned the existing lots with no homes on it or whatever, but they already did have their addresses on there, I read on one of the documents that it actually said that there has to be a number assigned on the home, and that means that that home gets mail. If it either CBU or, directly in front of their home, if they have and it's officially from the builder, that home is entitled to mail delivery, just not having to go to the actual post office. So I read that, I think it was in 316.4, if I'm not mistaken, sorry. It was earlier this morning.
Which is something I don't understand because your 911 service requires your house to have a number on it of a certain size and visibility from a certain distance. So every house has to have a
There's a
number on
lot
it.
of
So
requirements apparently
You're not
for
going to
that.
find a home that's built that doesn't have an address on it.
Right.
So,
I think that might be it. And as far as the damage, if somebody were to run into it, I feel like it's gonna be set back far enough. It's not close enough to boggy to where someone's gonna run off there, I feel like if it's gonna be set, and it's a pretty big sized or decent sized lot enough to set it back as far as it possibly can. And then that little extra driveway in will be amazing, but I think we'll just be happy to get the boxes alone and just, for even 3 days a week for cost savings if it's too much for, if it costs too much for the employee to drive out there. But I've heard even our local delivery lady, I don't know her personally because I haven't seen her because I don't get mail. But she's all for it and just really speaks volumes about how much we need this and also just to have the community be happy about this because they've been complaining for 4 years. And I feel like it's not a lot to ask for since it's already paid for by USPS. And I feel like almost all of these 76 homes might chip in $2 if, one of the locks gets broken or something, I think it's worth it to just proceed with it. So I'm glad San Antonio called today to help you with that. So that was it.
all right.
Thank you for hearing me out. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. And next I have Hilton Crocker.
I'm not sure I need a microphone. My voice usually carries pretty well. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members and staff, I appreciate y'all hearing us tonight. I have known Ed for many years. I'm a retired Austin firefighter and moved here 6 months ago. And I was extremely shocked because I didn't find out until after I had closed that I didn't get mail service. I'm 64 years old. I've never lived anywhere where I didn't get mail service. I used to live out in the country where the houses were a mile apart and I got mail delivered. So I don't understand this from the perspective of the post office at all. And then when I have to go in there every 2 to 3 days to collect my mail, they're rude. Bad service. It's the worst post office I've ever dealt with. And I have called people and complained. I've even called the United States Postal General and complained, never heard anything back. Never got an explanation of why I wasn't getting mail. All I got was the post office said, well, it's Braun and the city's fault. Braun said, well, it's the city's and post office fault. It's really aggravating to have to drive that distance when you don't have anything else you're going into town for except to get your mail. And coincidentally, when I closed up my house, one of the requirements to close was that I have a mailbox in my front yard.
Right.
So I've got a mailbox sitting there, but it doesn't ever get mail put in it. I'm not crazy about the idea of the boxes like they're proposing, but if that's what I get, that's what I get. It's better than driving into town and standing in line for half an hour. I would appreciate any expedition that y'all can do to make this happen faster. I understand that there's a person working on the plan. Has it been approved?
And that'll be up to council tonight.
Okay. Whatever steps the city can do to expedite this would be greatly appreciated. And I'm retired. All I get is mail. There's people out there that have businesses in their homes. They use that mail service for their business. There are people that are younger than me that both of them work. And it's very unopportunistic for them to go to the post office because a lot of times they're working the hours when the post office is open. So they have to take off work to go get their mail. It's just ridiculous. I don't like the finger pointing game. I just want something to happen. I told Ed earlier, I pull the slab if you need me to pour the slab. I just want my mail. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, that is all that I have signed up. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to address council? Yes, sir. If you would, please state your name for the recording, please.
My name is, I'm Hilton Crocker's neighbor. Harold Weed Bailey II. This is my lovely number 2. Actually, she's number 1, I'm number 2. Don't let me forget that. Let me, first of all, I want to return to what you said earlier was, so you feel that you will start the pad next week?
The Postal Service tells me that they're ready to pour as soon as we can get them the signed letters and the site plan, so.
So what's involved in getting the letters signed?
Well, they have not sent me the form.
This is coming from the federal government, is that correct?
Yes. So on the phone, she told me she would email me all the stuff today. I currently have not seen the email, but I have reached out to the Leander postmaster, the one that oversees Lago Vista, and ask him for the proper forms. The other is just a letter that our attorney will put together, releasing access for them, so.
Releasing access for
For the Postal
put-
Service to use our right-of-way.
to use a right-of-way, right? It has nothing to do with them and the boxes, Braun and the paperwork involved with all the ownership of the land being transferred to who, the city or?
If Braun does give up the 15-foot section, there will be a little bit of paperwork that's involved with them transferring that piece of property, yes.
And that was an if? I
If.
think I heard you say if.
Yes.
So that hasn't been,
May I interject?
Sure.
So the current proposal from staff, including the city engineer, development services director, and myself, we analyzed this, and we wouldn't actually transfer the property from Braun. What we would do is increase the easement depth so that the property would still belong to whoever owns that property. Currently, it's owned by Braun. Whoever purchases the house, if they build a house on that lot, the remainder of it, the lot is large. It's about 100-foot wide, so taking an extra 15 feet would not impede Braun's ability to build a home on that lot, nor any future property owner's ability to put a fence on the property to block off this area and keep their privacy and still at the area where they are legally allowed to put the fence in the future. So we would increase the easement. An easement document would need to be drafted. Braun would need to sign off on that. That is not a difficult document to prepare. We just need to have it and have a finalized plan that would go with it. What staff would be looking for tonight from our council is direction on the location. There are 2 proposed locations that you see on the screen. One is the original location that the Postal Service preferred. The other location is where our city engineer and staff would support because it would provide extra protection and safety for those using it. And so we would need to get direction from our council this evening on the location, and then we would prepare the easement document. We'd have to get that worked out with Braun. And then realistically, if Braun told the U.S. Postal Service today that they could do it, it's their property. We want to make sure it's reflected that it's in an easement so that the Postal Service understands that they have the responsibility for maintaining that part of it. And so it shouldn't take an inordinate amount of time, but we do need to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's so that the liability and responsibility are in the right hands, if you will.
so my first, I guess one of my questions on that would be, is this an eminent domain thing? or is this an actual purchase acquisition?
It is not a purchase acquisition. It is not an eminent domain. If Braun is willing to deed us that additional easement area. If they request that we pay for it, then we'll have to have additional discussion. Initially, the discussion we had with Braun is that they were willing to give us the lot or to donate the lot. We're not asking that they donate the entire lot. We want to allow them to keep that amount of property. And it's because it's not necessary for this process. But if they will willingly deed over that additional easement area to us, we do not have to go through the eminent domain process. If for some reason they were unwilling to do that, we could go through the eminent domain process. We would have to pay fair market value for that property. That therein would be an issue because unless council wants to authorize payment of some kind, then we would have to figure out who's going to pay for that. Because we would not ultimately, if it's additional right-of-way, if there's an easement that's granted, in theory, the city would have some level of ownership of the easement rights. Although we would not own the property per se, because it's simply an easement.
So what I would like to offer from all of the citizens that live on Omaha Drive and Owens and that area is that should Braun challenge you in any of these areas, we would like to be notified, and you can, of course, notify our illustrious neighbor, Hilton, because we'll organize to basically go against Braun to make sure that they comply and are complicit with whatever changes are necessary. Because we all feel that we have been misled by their sales and marketing departments relative to mail delivery, not to count all the things that we were told about everything else, cable services, telephone, and all the things that are involved. Not that we don't think that they're a very fine builder. Warren Buffett's a very wonderful man, I'm sure. But we have been challenged by, and I really truly feel that it's not the salespeople in the little local office. We've just been challenged by the bureaucracies. So the reason why we're here is because of the bureaucracies. Because, I don't know, I think it was the movie about the Mad, Mad World. They all went that way. Every time we talk, someone's talked to someone else. I know that Ed basically talks with Hilton a lot. I've talked to a number of people at the office here in Lago Vista, and I've talked to Roger Williams. And I have to tell you that there's a lot of stuff that's just very disconcerting for those of us that are citizens of Lago Vista, citizens of the state of Texas, and citizens of the United States of America, that we feel like some of the things that are deliverables from all of the constituents of our governing bodies are not working well for us. And I know that I'm not speaking to deaf ears, I'm just speaking to my fellow citizens. So what I would like to say is that those of us that are your citizens, that are your neighbors, we would like to do and help you do whatever you need to do to get this expedited. If you need boots on the ground to go make things happen, then we would like to be contacted and discussed with about those things that are necessary. It's not necessarily that we mind driving to the post office once a day, twice a day, 5 days a week, 20 days a week. If you run those numbers, I'm telling you, for the neighbors, the 78, I think that it was mentioned earlier, that's a pretty extraordinary number. And I think that we would like to see some resolution to this. And I'm thankful that somebody must have read someone's email and you got a telephone call today. I like that fact. And what we would like to see and help push forward is what is necessary for the next steps. I know that you all have a full plate, that you have so many different things that you're trying to do relative just to the management of this city. So use us as warriors for you to go do those things necessary. If it's emails, telephone calls, or whatever, use us because we want to see this happen as quickly as we can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Darcy DeVoe. And I think that's horrible. You people have not been getting your mail. I mean, I couldn't even imagine that for that long. But I was going to ask, because we just had the incident on Boggy Ford with Firefly, with their signage and the danger of it. And I'm hoping that whoever, I guess Eric and you guys, when you look at this, that whoever's coming from here can see past this. Because in Canyon Lake, I was over there after you brought this up to council, I think in March, I think, yeah. I was over in Canyon Lake, and that's how all the homes are now. None of them have boxes. They're all on these big platforms, and they're like I-shaped or H-shaped, and they're this tall, and they're huge. They're huge, but they've put them in locations that don't obstruct the streets. So I would just ask that when you are looking at this, that someone take a stick or something and sit in a car so you don't get other homeowners up here that now say they can't see past this. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else in the audience would like to make a, sir?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Jason Paul Davies. I wanted to bring up with those boxes, you had talked about USPS wants you to sign some paperwork. In that paperwork, is it basically the city giving the USPS the authority to force everybody in this city into those combined boxes?
No. It is just for the use of this piece of property here.
And because I can say, I moved here in December, I was in the same situation as them, and I fought the post office all the way to the top, and I get mail. So it is doable. It is the postmaster for this area that is holding this process up. So it's good you were speaking to someone in San Antonio. If you can get higher, I'd recommend it, because they're gonna stonewall you every single time. I don't think this is the solution. I think it's going up higher.
That has been my stance, but as you can see, it's taken years to get where we are now. And so some of the direction I'm looking for council is, where do we go? Do we keep fighting, or do we, cut our losses on this piece of property and fight the next battle down the road?
I think we all know the feds, and you give it up this
It's gonna
much,
be, it's gonna be a
and
precedent.
it's gonna be the whole city.
But they're operating manual, and I guess I'm assuming that they have the power to do this. They can stop delivering mail to curbside delivery at any point, I guess. The way it makes it sound, they have the authority to make that decision.
Who
So-
was it that you chatted with that you finally got resolution?
I'll be honest with you, I don't have the name anymore because this was back in December.
Okay.
But it was a lot of phone calls, a lot of online inquiries with the USPS website. There was a lot.
Okay.
But again, postmaster in this area, don't even waste your time.
Yeah. So it wasn't someone here in Austin, wasn't
No.
someone in San Antonio? Did you go to DC or?
No. I personally didn't go anywhere.
I
This
mean,
is all,
the person you talked to that finally resolved it.
I don't believe it was DC, no.
Okay.
I don't remember where they were out of. But again, it won't be this area. But see, the people in the post office, they'll give you all the information. Like, I didn't have a post or a mailbox when I moved in. They gave me, here, put this in, put a change of address in, we'll get your mail to you. Then it was, well, no, we're not, after I got the mailbox in. Then it was me doing all the legwork, and then magically, my mail showed up.
I'll be darned.
So it's doable, but it's taking the fight where it needs to go, which again is not this postmaster. So that's all I had. Thank you.
And we have had meetings with the Lago postmaster in attendance, the Leander her boss at Leander, and then his boss out of San Antonio, and their lawyers. And that was 2 years ago. the option lies with them. So they could, you know, for them to make, they can either add a house to a route or not add the house to the route. And I think you just got lucky that you got, the postmaster was willing to add your house to an existing route. But they don't seem to be willing to add the rest of the people's houses to. In my conversations with Roger Williams, our U.S. representative for this area, there is actually legislation in the U.S. House to reverse this operating manual, but it's been there for 2 or 3 years. Will it ever come out of the House of Representatives? I don't know. The writing I see on the wall is this is what we're going to be faced with. The whole world's eventually going to be just operating out of cluster box units, eventually, so. Yeah. All right. I'll bring it back to council at this time. Do y'all have any further questions, comments?
I did have one question. Aaron, has the post office or anybody at their side raised any objections to the location that our staff suggested?
I haven't spoken with the post office side of it. All I've been told is they want to know where to put it.
But the bottom line is staff believes the place they've selected is the proper place for it. The more
Yes.
appropriate place for it.
For the reasons that the mayor outlined, potential conflicts with existing infrastructure, safety hazards, convenience, for all of those reasons, to ensure that they can put something in that will allow more than one vehicle at a time. We don't want vehicles stopping on the side of the road in that particular area, given the curve, as you can see on the street, for all of those reasons. And it would allow for, if they're gonna do something, I don't know that a shelter is planned for it, but if a shelter was planned in the future, then it would better accommodate something of that nature.
Okay.
And I guess the possibility does exist that once if we submit this plan to them and they don't like it, you know, I guess that's a possibility. They have not said as much, but I guess it still exists because.
But it sounds like we should start there because staff believes it's the safest and best place for it to be.
That's certainly staff's recommendation, yes.
Okay there.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I believe that we have a larger issue than just this being the solution to the problem. Because as we all know, the area that these gentlemen live in is an area that has a lot of these brown homes that could be serviced by them. But there are a lot of areas in Old Lago Vista that are not anywhere near them, that were built, these homes are built by brown homes. So that's not going to be a good solution for them. In the past, we've had conversations, and I think we probably need to investigate this again, and that is to go to the U.S. Post Office and see about getting our own postmaster, because the postmaster that we have right now reports to Leander. So I think we need to possibly go down that road and see if we can get a resolution to get our own postmaster and have that person be the one that faces all these problems that we're listening to. This is a big problem, and it's been going on for a long time, and I think it's time that we find a resolution to the problem.
I'm willing to continue the fight for the future, but tonight we're looking at this one.
Right, I understand.
What do we do for the homeowners that are here tonight, so?
I do believe we need to take care of the
Absolutely,
immediate situation. Now, I do remember previous councils have fought to try to get a postmaster in Lago, and it was unsuccessful. So, I mean, we can continue that same fight again, but we've tried in the past to do that.
The problem that I see there, though, Councilman, is that we're talking about a time when there was only a little over 6,000 people who lived
I
here.
understand.
We're now approaching doubling that figure. And so I think there may be a possibility of applying more pressure to the powers that be that can give us the solution that will remedy this problem.
I agree.
So I think we should continue that fight if it's possible at all. We at least need to go through the exercise to see what can be done.
Yeah. Well, I can assure you, I will continue to speak with our county representative, Ann Howard, our state rep, Vicki Goodwin, our state senator, Sarah Eckhart, and not only Roger Williams, the House of Representatives, but I've also been in communication with Ted Cruz and John Cornyn's office. So I will continue for the future, to push the issue, but
Gotcha.
we've got to make sure we got a plan B as well, too. One more.
So, can this just be on the agenda for the next session so that we can just have a follow-up as to where things have gone? Because like you said, it was on the agenda 2 months ago and probably 2 years ago, but
I'll be glad to present you an update
I'd
on
love it.
July 1st.
Awesome, thank you.
Hopefully you will know way before that, though. All right. So
Are we ready for a motion?
if we're done, I'm ready for action.
Mayor, I will make a motion that the council authorize you to execute any and all paperwork associated with this solution with the United States Postal Office, and that we put forward the location that staff has recommended for the location of the boxes.
Second.
And I would ask you to amend yours to include Braun
Executing paperwork with Braun.
and the post office.
I will accept that amendment, absolutely.
Second.
Except,
All right. All right, so I have the motion and a second from Counselor Marion. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimous. And we will get that as fast as we can.
Can't wait to see that concrete truck.
8 feet 8 feet wide, 22 feet long, 8 inches deep, 8 inches thick.
Guy shows up, he won't even realize it was a van.
All right. We will move on to agenda item number 5. For those of y'all who came for agenda item number 4, we encourage you to stick around for the rest of the council meeting. But if you choose, you are welcome to go home and have dinner. Okay, I'm sorry? All right, agenda item number 5. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding ordinance number 21-06-17-01, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, pursuant to Vernon's Texas Codes Annotated, Local Government Code, Chapter 102, Section 102.007B, providing for amendments to ordinance number 20-09-17-02 for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020, and ending September 30, 2021. Amendments to said budget by department are set forth in Exhibit A attached to this ordinance. The item before you is the ExecuTime time clock system. Currently, city employees keep track of their payroll time sheets on paper. ExecuTime is an electronic time clock system that, once it has been set up and is fully functional, will interface and download directly into Encode and into the payroll process. Converting to ExecuTime was considered during the current year budget process, but the source of funding was not clearly defined. The HR director was under the impression that the previous city manager intended to cover the expense of the conversion in the general administration budget, so he did not include it in the HR budget. Even if the intent to cover the expense had been a planned expense in the general admin budget, it should be more accurately recorded in the HR budget. Given the additional expenses incurred in the search for a new city manager and the ongoing interim city manager expenses, there may or may not be sufficient funds to cover the expense in the general admin budget. The initial expense to purchase the time clocks, software installation, licenses, setup, and maintenance equals $27,290 this fiscal year. Going forward, after the system is in place, recurring costs for maintaining the system through Encode are quoted at $28.55 annually and will be included in the information technology budget along with all of the other Encode modules. HR Director Daniel Magura is available to answer any questions that council may have regarding the ExecuTime time clock system. So I think paragraph 2 pretty much tells us our situation. One person said they would take care of it in the general admin budget, so HR did not put it in his budget, and now the general admin budget does not have the money to cover the expense. However, the HR director, going off of that word, has already gone out and brought in ExecuTime. They have been 4 months now, is it, Dan? You've been going through training and,
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Dan McGurra, Human Resources. We started the process with the implementation team in January. And so we're now finishing up month 5, going into month 6, with an expectation that we will be able to go live in September.
so we're receiving invoices for work performed.
We're in flight.
Yes. That is the situation we're at. Due to some words and promises but that's where we're at. So we need a budget amendment to take care of Dan and his team with the ExecuTime.
And are there funds available in the general fund to cover this?
Yes.
Okay. Just not in the general admin budget?
Right.
Correct, okay.
Right. Yeah. And anything beyond, this, still going into next budget cycle will be properly addressed as a budget line item.
Can I just clarifying on that? This expense would still would be, we could handle this expense and still stay within the overall expense for the general fund budget. I know there's excess revenue in the general fund, so there's money there, but so maybe there's not enough money in the general admin, but some other bucket within general fund has excess money that can be applied to this as well. Okay, good. I would also like, Mr. Magura, if you would, since the first time I've heard of this, would you mind just giving us a kind of a short tutorial on what problem this system is solving? Sure. Why you and the previous city manager decided it was a good idea to implement it?
Absolutely. Just kind of give you a little bit of a timeline. I started with the city in February of 2020. In that process, the city manager identified a concern that he had in that a lot of the systems that we had for payroll purposes were manual. He was wanting me to move to an automated process. So we started a process in February, March. We started reviewing some of the systems out there, recognizing, if y'all probably are aware, that we use Tyler Technologies Encode for our financial and our payroll system. And we found that the ExecuTime is within the Tyler technology. It easily interfaces with the Encode system and allows us to have several ways of processing our time. As it is right now, we've got a number of platforms, 3 or 4 different platforms, and we can't communicate all of them together. And so what we've done is we've taken and we put we looked for the solution. So the solution with the ExecuTime allows us to possibly do it with time clocks. which we don't have right now. And so we would have time clocks that would communicate with this system. And then it also allows us to be able to do it with mobile phones, and it allows us to do it with computers. About 45 of our employees currently do not have access to computers. And so we would need to put them into more of the time clock thought process there. And so what we've done is we've looked at how can we streamline the request for time off. Right now, we do it all manually. How do we streamline the timekeeping process? Right now, we do that all manually. And in essence, there is a large upload of information that has to go into the Encode system in order for us to process payroll every 2 weeks. This system would allow us to, employees to make requests for time off, those to be processed, be fed into this executive time system. Executive time would process the timesheets, all the timekeeping, whether it's by clock or whether it's by telephone, by the cell phone, or it's by the computer. And it'll all come together and it'll all feed into, we can load it into the Encode system and conduct our payroll. But primarily, council member, the intent here was to try to find a way to move away from the manual timekeeping process.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm also assuming that it allows you to have better control over employees and have a better understanding of their time.
Yes, council member, it will definitely do that. It is going to give them an opportunity, a platform where they can look and see what kind of leave balances that they have, different things like that they don't have right now.
Yes,
I have a-
Councilor Mary.
Thank you. I have a few questions. Thinking logistics, is the plan to have like one time clock here and then will there be like another time clock somewhere else for folks who may not start their day here? Or would staff who don't start their day here have to come here? Or is that what the cell phones are for?
Yeah, council member, what we would do, primarily, most of these employees would be in the public works, possibly the golf course. That's where we would have most of the time, the time clock systems. We would use either a badge or some other identifying source that they would go to the time clock, they could do that. There's possibility some of them would be allowed, and if we allow it, they'd be allowed to use cell phones, and they'd be able to go in and do that. So if we have some that maybe can't access time clocks, we can consider having them use their cell phones and have that control as well. And most everybody else in the city, with the exception of about 45 of those employees, most of them have access to computers. And so we can easily integrate them into the computer process.
And do you think that by moving to this time clock process that it may, I don't know currently what overtime looks like for the city or anything like that. Do you think like long-term, it could be some sort of a cost savings to the city as far as that might be concerned?
It will definitely save the supervisors and the managers some time that they're spending in the timekeeping process. It'll also free up a little bit of the administrative time that we have. Probably not that significant on manpower because, as it is right now, they're just, there's a deadline for timesheets to come in. Those timesheets have to be reviewed. They have to be audited. They have to be input. There's a lot of different steps that we take to get that payroll done. But with this system, all that comes in and we're just able to feed it right into payroll and it'll work out.
So I think my final question kind of goes right along with what you were saying there. When I was a school principal, we had time clock for like some of our staff, our custodial and cafeteria and our educational aides. But somebody still has to manage that time clock. So you still have to review the reports, make sure there's not missing punches. I mean, there's a whole lot of time and effort that goes into, I guess, reconciling the records before payroll can be run. Do you think that the current staff that are doing the work manually would take over those duties, or will you later be looking for additional staff to take that duty on?
We-
Like additional staff, like in your budget, to add staff?
I would say that we'll probably see the need for additional staff decrease because of the automation process.
Okay, so you
Okay.
think your current staff could handle it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And who is your current staff?
Me, myself, and I.
There you go. So he's just decreased himself. One thing you will see is what you won't see is the people running down the hallway going, oh,
Their
I gotta
sheets.
get my time
Yeah,
sheet
with their
in.
sheets, yeah.
Mayor?
Yes.
I have one question about the budget. Hate to beat a dead horse, but is there any money left in the general admin budget that will be able to be applied to this? And then others will have to come from elsewhere? Or is everything gonna have to come from elsewhere?
Star's direction before she left was from the general fund.
Okay, for the entire amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? right.
Council, I just, one other thing I just want to make sure you understand is that what we're talking about now and the funding need that we have right now is an initial cost. And it goes away. And then we have an ongoing cost, which is considerably less. It's approximately $3,000 a month. I mean, $3,000 a year that we have to pay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Is there anybody in the audience have any comments? All right, I'll bring it back to council. If there's anything, any other questions, concerns? If not, it's open for action.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 21-06-17-01.
Second.
Who was, Dave? All right. All right, so I have the motion and a second by Counselor Williams. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, ordinance passes unanimous. And we go to number 6.
Mayor? I apologize, I should have said something. That ordinance number he just called out, is that the appropriate one? If you look at the ordinance itself, that's not the number at the top of it.
Okay.
I think I just forgot to change it. I'll change it on there.
Okay, so he called out the correct one?
It's the 61701.
Okay, okay,
That's the correct one.
okay. Sorry about that.
Sure, no, thank you. All right, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding ordinance number 21-06-17-02. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, amending ordinance 18-09-20-04, rules of procedure, providing for publication, providing for penalties, an effective date, repealer, severability, proper notice, and open meetings clause. Kevin, this one's yours, so I'll just go ahead and turn it over to you.
Fair enough, Mayor. And this is gonna be short and sweet, Mayor. I'm gonna make the recommendation that we table this item. I think the subcommittee needs to get back together with our city attorney on a few items before we're ready to talk about it with the full council.
All right.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to table and a second by Counselor Williams. Any further discussion?
I would just suggest for public's sake that we got some really good feedback from our attorney, and the subcommittee is going to go fold that into the document, and we'll have the opportunity to do public review of those changes in a subsequent meeting. So we're tabling the discussion tonight, but we'll get full review when it comes back on.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Meant to say aye, sorry.
All right, hearing none, the motion is tabled, unanimous. All And we go to number 7. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding resolution number 21-1889, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, appointing an individual to fill an unexpired vacant term as a member on the Board of Adjustment. And Counselor Marion, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. So we lost a member of the Board of Adjustment. Amadeo Perez turned in his resignation. He was appointed or reappointed in December of 2020, and his term expires January 1st, 2023. At this time, I would like to recommend Jeff Shields to be the next member on the Board of Adjustment.
All right. Any questions, comments from council? All right.
I'll make a comment that I know Mr. Shields. He's been a citizen that's provided me in the past with helpful feedback on council sessions. I've found him to be, when he has something to say, it adds value, and when he doesn't have something to say, he stays out of it. So I suspect he'll be a very positive addition to the Board of Adjustment.
All right, thank you. Anybody from the audience have any comments? All right, I'll bring it back to you, Councilor Marion.
Great. And I did speak with Mr. Shields. He is very willing to accept this. So at this time, I would make a motion to appoint Jeff Shields to the unexpired vacant term on the Board of Adjustment, which is resolution number 21-1889.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, Jeff Shields is appointed to the Board of Adjustments. Unanimous. And we will go to number 8. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding an interlocal agreement between the City of Lago Vista, Texas, and Travis County Emergency Services District Number 1. An interlocal agreement for fire code enforcement services between the City of Lago Vista and Travis County Emergency Services District Number 1 is needed in order to set forth the terms and conditions under which the district will provide temporary fire code enforcement services for the city. The agreement would be in place for 30 days to allow ESD1 to enforce the prohibition on the possession, manufacture, storage, sale, handling, and use of fireworks in the city limits. Questions, comments? Let me see here.
No.
Go to this right quick. All right, so yes, this ILA right here is a temporary ILA for right now. And it is in discussions with Chief Norman and the ESD board. We identified the fact that this upcoming holiday season may be a potential for fireworks in the city, and that without some kind of ILA, the fire department could not enforce codes on fireworks. So in our discussions, we came up with this ILA, and I am presenting it to y'all today for consideration.
Sorry. I have a quick question. So in the past, I thought that if citizens had concerns over extremely loud, like especially the artillery style fireworks and things like that being set off in the city limits, that they would call PD and they would enforce? Would this be then a step where both PD and the ESD could enforce instead of it all falling to the PD?
Yes.
Or would it be ESD instead of?
No, it would be
Both.
both.
Okay.
Yeah, PD does have priority, but we're just to be on the safe side,
Got it.
our citizens are fantastic, and we know they will not catch anything on fire with their fireworks.
We hope.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mayor.
But, just in case.
Mayor, My question was, let's say we approve this and you sign it, will it go into effect the minute you sign it and then expire 30 days from then?
Do we have a date set on it?
I didn't see one on there.
It's effective on the date of the last to execute. So in theory, the mayor could sign tonight, but Chief Norman would need to sign it. And so whoever signs last, that's when it becomes effective.
Is Chief Norman having to go through the same process with his board to get approval for this? Do you know?
He should.
I would assume, yes.
Okay, so, and we don't know if they've met yet or provided any authority. Okay.
No, Mr. Mayor.
So bottom line is that whoever's the last one, that's when the effective date, and it will expire automatically 30 days after that.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
I do know that their board is meeting tonight.
Oh, okay.
All right. Any further comments, questions? Anybody from the audience have any comments? All right, I'll bring it back to council for action.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve this interlocal agreement, temporary interlocal agreement with ESD1.
I'll second.
All right, I have the motion second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, the ILA is approved unanimous. All right, we've already done number 9. So now we go to consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are to be considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion on these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. We have number 10, approval of the CapCog fiscal year 2022 air quality program funding request, and the approval of the April 15th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor, I do have one question.
Yes.
For on the executive summary for the CapCog, there's an indication that funding is required, yes, but is it budgeted, no. So my question is, if this is an annual expenditure or is going to be an annual expenditure, is it something we should consider putting in as a line item in the budget somewhere?
Okay, so would you like to have this agenda item pulled out of
Oh, do we have to do that? in order?
consent?
Yes,
So that we can
please,
discuss
yes,
it?
yes.
All right.
Do I need to make a motion? All right, I would make a motion that we pull the CapCog item from the consent agenda so we can have some discussion.
All right.
Do we even have to have a second on that, or it's just,
No.
yeah, I don't. She requested it, so it's done.
Okay. All right. Do we approve the rest first, or do we discuss this one first? I can't
You
remember.
can do either.
Either one, huh? All
Yes,
right.
Mayor.
So I do not know for sure whether this will be an annual expense or not. I know there's some stuff going on at the state level. I think the state's even trying to cut more of their funding. So I really don't know. Last year was the first time I ever even saw an request for this funding. We actually was, no, it was, Ron Smith was still here.
Yeah, I was too, the first time it happened.
Yeah.
Did we participate in it? I thought we.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, one of
Yeah.
those times we-
The original discussion was, why would we want to participate in this? But then we found out that we're under the guidance and restrictions no matter what we do.
Yeah.
So we decided that we would participate in the program.
And it,
I,
under $900, it's a relatively minor expense,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think it's
But whether-
1080 this year.
So that was a very good point that you brought up, because approving this, and it's not being a budget line item, it's gonna have to come back
As an amendment?
as a
That's right.
budget amendment.
Not budgeted.
So, yes.
But as far as putting this on as a thing in the budget, it's just a guess, because if you look at that, it's changed for everybody from what it was last year. And I would be willing to bet that we don't have any idea what it's gonna be next year.
Right, right. Like you talking about the amount?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree, especially
We
if they're
we
gonna
could
pull
put-
money.
like a placeholder in there of some kind, but to know what it's going to be or how much to put back.
And without Star being here, I'd have to ask, because we have several little things that we participate in with CapCog and stuff. I don't know if this is under the CapCog line item or not, if it's included. So when we bring the budget amendment back, we'll get clarification on exactly where the funding, whether it's coming out of something like that or if it's coming out of the admin budget.
Okay. So then, would that mean that we would have to make a motion to not approve this?
No, you can still approve,
Participation,
Participation.
right,
but the amendment would have to come back.
right.
Okay.
Are we talking $392?
Well, Mayor, I just have a question. We're acting like we don't know the amount, and in the letter, it
in
says,
there.
the CAC has approved an overall FY 2022 local funding request of $310,000, of which we are requesting $819 from your jurisdiction.
Right.
Right.
So we
So
know
I think,
exactly.
I think the confusion is, we know for this request, I think she was asking about future requests.
Totally
Like this
understand.
time next year.
Yeah. But we can make a determination on an annual basis whether we want to participate. If they come back and say they want $10,000 from us, we can say we're not going to participate this year if we want to.
Right.
And all we would do with regard to this item is approve this time. And this
Right.
819, and quite frankly, it's our 2022 contribution. We can factor that into our budget discussions as they're about to come up, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see.
Last year it was 392 and this year it's
see
next year 319.
I'm gonna bring up something real quick along those lines now that you mentioned that. What was it? See a summary. All right. So we have to communicate with them by June 25th. But this, and they even put this in here. Request is for the FY '22 budget. This allows you adjustments to be made into the work plan and budget for fiscal year '22. So they even put that in their summary that we have to let them know one way or the other, I guess, but
So then we don't need a budget amendment, we would just include it in the budget when we do the budget coming
next
up?
year.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it appears as if their 2023 expectation would be very similar to 2022. So I think we've got visibility for this year and the one after.
Yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward, and that's why it was originally
On the consent.
on the consent, is that,
Right.
do we want to continue or not? And if we do want to continue, which had we voted for it on the consent, we would, that would also basically commit us to making sure we got it in the budget for next year.
Right.
But it's not that large of a number.
Yeah, and when I'm putting this together, sometimes I forget that half my council hasn't seen these agenda items before, so what seems like a consent to me,
Yeah.
so it's good that you request to have it pulled out, so. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for this item.
Do we need to let the citizens?
Oh, do the yeah, I guess. Do the citizens have any comments on the clean air action? All right, thank you. I'll bring it back to council.
If that's the case, I'll make a motion, Mayor, that the council approve our participation in the CapCog FY 2022 Air Quality Program funding request.
I'll second.
All right, I have the motion and the second from Councilor Davila. Any further discussion? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, air quality program funding is approved, unanimous. And we'll go back to the consent agenda.
Right.
think we were up to a point. I'll entertain.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Right, so I have the motion and the second for the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Consent agenda is approved. And where are we at now? We should be on number 12. Let me get to number 12. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding an update to the Lago Vista Comprehensive Master Plan. City Council created a subcommittee to review the 2016 Comprehensive Plan and the subsequent update that was approved on 1 August 2019. The subcommittee included council members David Williams, Paul Prince, and Arch Davila. The staff was represented by the Development Services Director, Roy Jambor, the Public Works Director, Eric Belay, and the Interim City Manager, Roger Chan, later replaced by the Interim City Manager, or Acting City Manager, Sandra Barton. The public was represented by a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission and a member of the Building and Standards Commission. Tom Monahan representing P&Z, Jim Kaysen representing Building and Standards. The packet includes a report that summarizes the data compiled by the subcommittee. This report was presented to the P&Z Commission at the regular meeting on May 13th, 2021. They unanimously recommended adoption of the report as an update to the comprehensive plan. 6 of the 7 members were present at the meeting. The requested action would result in this report serving as an update to the status and prioritization of the recommendations contained in the version of the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2016 and previously updated by a similar report in 2019. The action would serve to inform all applicable parties of the intent to continue implementing the recommendations as detailed in the most recent report. Let's see. Who wants to take the lead on this one? It says Roy, but I don't know.
I will, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind.
All right,
Thank you.
Counselor Williams.
One of the things, and this is basically tonight, I want this to just be more of a discussion. I'm not looking for the action, but because I think we need to do some things that would help this tremendously moving forward. I had a great group of people to look into this that were on the subcommittee. And my concern was, I couldn't figure out how planning and zoning was going to be able to get the information from all the staff people that they needed to get the information from with not having a manager and reporting in, since they're responsible for giving the initial approval of the comprehensive plan. So in getting the research and for the subcommittee looking at we came up with, we looked at it as one document. We wanted to see what was happening in 2019, 2020, and also what exists for 2021. So what we did, we showed the results accomplished for the fiscal year of 2019 and 2020. And we tried to change, we didn't change any of the initiatives that were in the plan, but we wanted to adopt whether the initiative that was in the plan was an actionable item or a non-actionable item. For example, but we didn't remove anything from the initial plan. A non-actionable item was like the initiative in the plan was on lakefront property. Well, we don't have any access to lakefront property. So, and maybe at some time in the future we might, so we left it in the plan, but just noted it as non-actionable. The way we got all the necessary information, we went to the city manager and all the staff directors, and I wrote each one of them a letter, and I provided them the questions that related to their job. They sent back the information. We then looked at those items and we put them into the 5 categories that are in the plan. And I'll go over that in a minute. We did not, Another example was the 3-year annexation plan. We can't do annexation right now, so we made that a non-actionable item. The sidewalk plan, we did change the name on that to walkability plan, because not every street in Lago Vista can have a sidewalk. There could be some access to a sidewalk in the newer communities like Lakeside by Cicero or the Hollows. But we wanted to figure out a plan where there is some sort of walkability plan taking them from one point to another point that would take them, maybe a trail system. It could be an example would be what they have in Austin, where they have a bike path along the side of the road if the road was big enough to put one. So we didn't want to just eliminate it to sidewalks, so we tried to call it a walkability plan. The 5 categories that exist in the plan are housing and neighborhood livability, land use, transportation, park, recreation, and open spaces, and city.
Tilt the microphone a little bit more towards you.
City facilities and services. So we put those initiatives under each one of those categories. We did find that there was a lot of things that were missing from the plan in 2021. And we did not want the subcommittee to be responsible for adding those items in. I figured that's more of our job, to figure out what the overall initiative should be. And then when the directors have to fill out the form, they can put their actions under the initiatives that are missing. Some of the initiatives that I thought were missing were on the future land use map, the transportation study, new street replacement plan, the library expansion plan, the town center parking lot implementation. There's no initiatives that cover those. There's nothing overall so that's why you see a lot of information in the appendix that had nothing to do with the initiatives that are in those 5 categories. So we need to work together, maybe have a workshop or something like that, where we come up with what the initiative should be added into the plan, since this plan was done with a 3% growth and we're up to a 15% growth rate in Lago Vista. So there has to be additional steps that we throw into the plan that cover what's going on in Lago Vista right now. And with that being said, I just want to open up for discussion on your part. I gave you the document ahead of time so you can review. You're going to be our editor-in-chief as I'm here at the time. I
Happy to do
think
it.
when this comes back to us, I want the 2019 and the 2020 to just be the results of what our staff members said that were the accomplishments for that year. And then we can have 2021 standing out there on its own, and we can figure out what other initiatives need to go in it. So it may take a longer period of time for us to complete that part of the task. Yes, sir.
Mayor, if I may, as one of the other members of the subcommittee, the way I kind of viewed the way we were chartered was not to make any changes to the comprehensive master plan, but it was really analyzing the plan. And as Mr. Williams already said, we spent some time trying to clearly communicate and frankly reorganize the way it was communicated, because we found it a little bit hard to read the initiatives and actions from past publications. So we kind of tried to reorder it. Hopefully it's a little better in the way it reads this go round. But within the 5 categories that Mr. Williams already listed, I think it's pretty straightforward, the 2019 and 2020, what happened in the past. So that should be, just informational, if you will. And then the subcommittee's work, which included staff and a couple of members of our commissions, we collectively tried to lay out the initiatives that would be accomplished in this fiscal year, 21, that were consistent with the existing comprehensive master plan. So the initiatives that are listed for 2021, we believe are consistent with the existing comprehensive master plan. And that's pretty simple. I would like to call everyone's attention to just 3 pages in here. There is, in the packet, there is a page of the ordinances that Planning and Zoning Commission decided were most important for them to address and change. And the ordinances that need to be changed are consistent with things that our comprehensive master plan would dictate. So there's a couple pages of ordinances that the Planning and Zoning Commission says we're going to update. And obviously, before those get adopted, they'll be brought in from P&Z as a separate exercise. There's another list, one-page list from Building and Standards. So I think there's a lot of meat in the 2021 plan because we're talking about ordinance changes that our commission members agreed are important for them to address and change.
Right.
And so in one sense, it's pretty straightforward. I do think we probably collectively, I would hope, can expect staff to be able to take this as a lead for, maybe driving the process more in future years to say what are the initiatives for fiscal year '22 that they're going to do that would be consistent with the comprehensive master plan. All of that being said, I think it's a separate exercise for council to, at some appropriate time, to consider an update to the comprehensive master plan itself. This is all about the initiatives that are consistent with the existing comprehensive master plan.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was going to be my comment. Y'all have heard me mention it before. One of the budget item requests that I'm putting in is to update our comprehensive master plan. It's, I think, is it outlined to exactly how often it's supposed to be done?
I think it was 5 years, I thought.
It was supposed to be done at the end of each year.
Well, I know, but I mean,
You mean the updates? He's talking about a full
yeah.
redo.
Okay. For some reason, I've got, for some reason, I was thinking that it was supposed to be redone every 5 years.
That's what I was thinking.
But I don't know if that's actually written somewhere, if that's just something that,
We do.
but it needs to be done.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
does.
yeah, we can definitely, go with our initiatives for the remainder of this year, but,
Yeah.
going into next year, everything may completely change.
Right.
Depending on the community involvement and what the comprehensive master plan.
Yeah.
I will say that when this comprehensive master plan was put together, the company that was brought in does like city planning and city engineering. Their strength was not necessarily strategic planning. And so I think we may have missed out on some of the initiatives that would be more involved in a strategic plan. So when we go out, hopefully, we will put this in the budget. When we go out, we will use a company that includes more of the initiatives and strategic planning into the comprehensive master plan.
So I had a list of items that I came up with. Do you want me to go through them or?
Do you want to, because I've got a list too, but.
Oh, well, you go ahead then, Mayor.
Go ahead.
All right, so, and I guess these are initiatives, I'm not real sure. Some of them may just be questions. On transportation, you've got down here, follow up with PEC on trails and easements. I guess I'd have to look and see what kind of easements PEC has. But I did want to point out something that's not noted in here, and that's LCRA. Because they have that iron giant that goes all the way from Marshall's Point next to the old Otwell House, water treatment intake number 3, that goes all the way, comes to the Alfalfa Loman substation right there. So you've got an easement that goes all the way east from Loman to Marshall's Point. And then when you cross over Loman Ford Road, right there by Paseo de Vaca, it goes all the way across Barkay, Turnback Canyon, and even through to Sarah, over to basically, it crosses the lake right there just
That's a great addition.
just south of Cow Creek. But I don't know if LCRA allows you to use their easements, but man, that is about a 50-foot, 60-foot wide easement.
Yeah.
So I have that on here. Key intersection improvements, publish thoroughfare plan and define additional actions planned. I just had questions, define additional actions. Because this, I guess this.
Again, this is coming, you have to remember, this is coming from your staff, okay, directors. So because of 2021, they don't have they didn't have their plans all laid out all the way through to figure out all the different parts of doing the initiative. Public Works was strong in it. Developmental Service was strong in it. Chris Mobley got strong in working out Sunset Park, but a lot of it came from their discussion with their manager, and they didn't have a manager to finalize plans, especially with dollars and stuff like that. So
the additional actions would be identified.
yeah, so that's things that we'll have to help them bring to the table.
Because I know I've been working with TxDOT on, entrance to the hollows,
Right.
double turn lanes at Lowenford
Lowenford
Road, maybe a better light at Barkay instead of a
Right.
blinking light.
We got, Eric sent us a new street plan that we just got today, so we'll have to look at that. If we think that's the workable plan, then we'll have to add those steps into the comprehensive plan, and he'll have to follow up on that. So 2021 is not a finalized version of anything that we're going to approve until we all sit down and figure out what's missing.
Okay,
Okay? So,
all right. Still under transportation, identified citywide shuttle system plan of overall cap metro plan. Do we know if we'll look at alternatives?
we can, yes.
And then I see down here, transportation, deleted item below. And I guess this is because y'all did the walkability, what'd you call it?
The walkability plan?
Walkability plan. So, sidewalk, the sidewalk plan. I guess y'all have deleted that and combined it into the walkability?
Yeah, we
network?
just included it in the walkability plan. So, it's certain new communities always have sidewalk. Like,
Okay, so we're still pursuing the grant that's gonna put in from middle school all the way over to
correct,
Sunset Park?
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Let's see. I made a note here, Sunset Point, update plans. I guess y'all all saw the email
Yeah,
where Tex Parks and Wildlife approved
Approved,
our phase 2 modifications. All right, let me see what else.
and we're still looking at the turn lane for Sunset Park. We're still looking at, so that, all that has to be put in here too. But those are things that happened after we reviewed this. We changed the street plan, just after this was already done, so, the updates need to be put into the 2021. But I didn't want to just have the subcommittee just do it. Because then they get, it's not their responsibility to change a plan. It's our responsibility to work with the city and the city manager and the new city manager to figure out.
I would also like to add that I think the intent of this document is to sort of state areas that city staff will be focusing on, and I think the street improvements is a great example. If you look at that, what it says for 2021 is $2.8 million capital improvements budgeted for streets, projecting 20-plus streets. But the important part is the owner for the street improvement section is Public Works.
It's Public Works.
And so we at some point, and today we know more than we did yesterday. At some point, the Public Works Director is going to come back and say, here's what I can do for you for the $2.8 million you said I could spend. And that falls under this exact line item. So, I think that would sort of be operating appropriately. We didn't want to get into, in this document, saying for 2021, the street improvements are exactly this list. But it's sort of like, let the person who's the expert on it run it, but it's captured in here as an action that's part of the CMP for this year.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
Just some
What you
other
got,
notes.
Kev?
Okay. Let's see, the land use, roads to be vacated, this is more a question than anything else. Ever since I saw that in the original plan, I wondered how that would work. What happens to the owners along the street that we want to vacate? Do they have any voice in that? Are there any legal liabilities if we decide we're going to vacate a street and no longer allow it to be a street? It's more just, I'm really concerned about us going down that path. I know you didn't have really any actions associated with it, but I did want to bring up my concern about going down that path. What's that?
It was the intent to take that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I said it was one of the deleted actions.
Oh, okay, I apologize. I'll shut up on that one. On the airport acquisition?
Well, if I may correct, it's not a deleted item. The exact wording says, I'm looking under land use, it says for 2021 to be refocused on new goal and associated actions for network walkability plan, including ADA considerations. Some very limited opportunities on double-fronted lots where one of the roads is currently undeveloped could be incorporated into this plan. See also transportation section. So I think we were recognizing that it's sort of like waterfront lots, this may not be achievable.
Right.
But it wasn't 100% unachievable, so we kind of left a small opportunity for the development services, which by the way is documented as the owner of this topic, to potentially come back with suggestions.
Okay, perfect.
The example is like the land we own going up
I can't hear you.
the land we own going up the hill to the airport.
Yeah.
For example, those are the kind of things that you can do.
Okay.
And double frontage lots where there's no need to access both sides, maybe you do something there.
Okay.
But the idea of closing streets and cutting people off with no access to their property, that's the part that,
That concerned me.
yeah, we realized that was a little over the top, I'll put it to you that way.
Okay, perfect. My next item was on airport acquisition. I think there was a statement in there that there's no current or active land acquisition plans. I don't believe that's correct. We have the airport action plan that was approved that laid out in priority order airport acquisition. So I would just suggest that maybe we revisit that item and not state that there is no plan.
No, it's we've acquired everything that was in the airport action plan to acquire, haven't
No,
we?
we have not.
Okay.
But if you recall, the priority order was to acquire the parcels on the east side. We didn't do that. We acquired some on the west side. We didn't acquire Mr. Awalt's secondary property on the west side.
Gotcha.
No, there's still a land out there to be acquired that's in that plan.
Okay.
So I would just suggest that we revise that statement and say that there is such a plan, but it's questionable whether it's appropriate for us to take action
Well,
on
and
it.
that's kind of what we're getting at, that the idea is we're encouraging that to be more of a public-private partnership rather than the city acquire it and do it.
Well, and I would suggest that the time to have acquired the eastern properties was years ago when we first approved this. If we try to do it today, we bankrupt the city, so it's just not gonna happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah. That's kind of what we were getting.
Okay.
But we'll help.
Yes. And I think you guys have already addressed the lakefront property issue. I won't go there again. Underneath marketing, image, tourism, the item on wayfaring signs, this just drives me crazy. This has been talked about forever. We've been budgeted, I could swear we budgeted 70 grand for this. Can we, instead of just saying we're gonna develop a plan, can we just do it? Can we be more proactive on this particular item and say, we're going to do wayfaring signs in this town? I would just ask that we be a little bit more forceful about what we're doing there. The last two items I had are just minor. On the airport, you had it in there, the airport action plan was adopted in 2019. It was actually adopted in 2016.
Okay. I got that from Paul.
And then I think you also had an inaccurate date for the clubhouse remodeling. Again, I think it was said to be 2019, but I think it happened in 2018.
No, it really happened in 2019. I double checked on that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
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 I was still on council when it happened, and I left at the end of 2018.
I was here too. It was
Yeah.
2019.
Huh?
It was 2019 because I was,
Yeah, it was 2019. When
it may have started at that.
it may have started in 2018, but
Okay.
it was
Okay.
completed
Fair enough.
in 2019.
That's all I got.
Thank you. I love you.
I had one valid thing in there. Actually, I think there was two.
Yeah, there was two.
Marion.
All right. Yes, miss.
Thank you, Mayor. I have just a couple of things and some clarifying questions. The first, and maybe this is something that can just be addressed during the editing phase, is the difference between wayfaring and wayfinding. So wayfaring implies by foot, wayfinding implies all modes of transportation. So are we looking for signs that will be for
More
by
directional.
foot, cars, like all methods of transportation, or just by foot?
Omni. Yeah, all omnis.
Okay, then we'll change that to wayfinding
Okay.
throughout the plan. What about adding the dark sky initiative? Is that something that would go into this, or is it not something that would be appropriate for this kind of a plan?
It was,
Was it in the original comprehensive master plan? And if the answer is no, then we're not in the mode of adding things right now. is my
Okay, so maybe have that discussion when we revise the plan, perhaps?
We
Yep.
to have a dark sky one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where we are.
Right.
To get recognized as a dark sky city by the IDA, one of the requirements is to have a public outreach
Yeah,
program.
education and all that.
That's the part that we haven't done. And if you want to get it into the schools, that's always been my best way to get it to happen. But we've started that many times. COVID didn't help, we've always stumbled at some point, but that's
what we were
what's
gonna-
left.
That's what we were going to task the Youth Advisory Committee
Yep.
with. If we can-
That was the original thought.
But I think Ms. Marion's point is good, that if it's in the CMP, maybe we need something in here as one of our initiative
Yeah,
actions. If it's not in the CMP,
It
it probably
was-
doesn't
it
belong
was-
in this
It was
document.
probably mentioned. I don't
Yeah.
know that it was
So,
a
yeah,
recommendation
I gotta
or
know,
initiative.
we can research that and see if we
Yeah.
need to add something there.
One thing
Thank you.
I'd like to point out, though, is that since we have the ordinance in place, we are a dark skies community. That needs
Correct.
to be recognized. Because all the builders that are building now have to abide by that, by those lighting restrictions.
Or at least they're supposed to.
What's that?
At least they're supposed to,
Well,
right?
what I think that I've witnessed is that they initially have all the lighting as it should be, and then after they get their CO, then they go back and change it.
Change the lighting.
Yeah.
So maybe just something to consider if we want to later have some goals for that. Then, under, let me skip because some of these are not relevant for this conversation.
While you're looking, I just
Sure.
searched the comprehensive master plan, and expanded dark skies regulations is a section in the comprehensive master plan. So just FYI.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. So mixed use, I saw this about the create a mixed use zoning district. And I'm just kind of curious on that one. Where something like that would be planned, because we don't have a lot of land, right, because this would have to be something done on city land, or?
It's the notion that, how back in the old days, people used to occasionally operate their store on the ground floor and live above it.
Yeah.
Our current zoning, the only place you can have a piece of property that's both commercial and residential on the same piece of land, or even within the same building, is as part of a PDD. The idea is to maybe that there are circumstances where that would be allowed. Typically, what you do is you take certain types of commercial property and allow it with certain requirements or criteria to allow people to live there as well. That's what we're talking about, mixed use.
Okay, so not
Mixing
necessarily.
commercial,
new buildings.
residential, same piece of property, same piece of land.
And I don't think it was an exact location per se, it was just an actual zoning
Allowing of it.
category.
Got it.
Yeah, it's just to create an easier way to get that path. We get a lot of people asking about it, you know, and we've come close, I think, a couple of times to having good proposals, but, you know, something at the last minute goes haywire. It's not that hard. We should do it. We need to do it. It's that simple. If you don't mind me adding, just because it's coming up and it might cause some confusion, there is a statutory requirement of something called the land use assumptions. And that's part of the impact fee. And since that's coming in front of you, I didn't want to confuse you. You have a thoroughfare plan update that's required for you to be able to consider transportation impact fees. That is currently underway. It's being done by P&Z, and that may be what David was referring to. It's about to hit your agenda, so don't be confused. That has to happen every 5 years. Part of what you get before you get to talk about impact fees is the land use assumptions that serves as the basis of those impact fees. That's what we have to do every 5 years if we want to have impact fees. And that 5 years is up. That's happening right now. So it'll talk about growth, where the growth is going to occur, all that kind of stuff. And it will include the growth-based capital improvement projects that will serve as the basis of the impact fees if you choose to assess. So, and that's now. So don't get confused when we start talking out the other side of our mouth, so to speak.
All right, thank you.
Okay, then, on page 103, under the parkland and trail easement, for 2021, it says, look at feasibility of Old Barkay Golf Course for city facilities. As in, new city buildings for like City Hall or whatever it may be. Is that what you mean by, for city facilities? Very bottom of 103. Oh, you know what? I have a different packet up. It's not gonna be 103. I'm not sure how to tell you where to go. It's under Parks and Rec open spaces
Hang on,
though,
let me
parkland
get
and
the-
trail easement.
So if it's under Parks and Recs, I wouldn't think it would be city offices, I think it would be.
No,
recreational.
more trail system, you know, connecting, allowing Barkay to connect to Lakeside by Sarah's trail system and just different ways of getting around and using some of the land at Barkay.
Okay, so city facilities means more like maybe amenities?
Yeah,
Is that kind of what they mean there? Okay. Okay,
but not building, not,
not for like relocation of offices or
No.
something?
yeah,
People wanting us to do that.
yeah, yeah.
And then, let's see, I may not have much, so under the, city facilities and services, right, there's that one about, obtaining bids and determining feasibility and seeking approval for council on the, site plan for the library and city hall expansion. But I think my question here has probably already been addressed, because I think you said later, like directors would be more directly involved in this, right? So that if it's determined, for example, that the library director isn't a fan of whatever the plan may be,
It
she
can
would
be
have
changed.
input.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another question here, okay, same place, under purchasing lakefront property. Explore options for additional deep water utility access. Is that the same, does that mean the same thing as like the one, Deep Straw, for example, that's out by Water Plant 3?
Yes.
Because that one already, right, has been built in
That's-
such a way that you could add 3 more pumps there rather easily, right? So 3 additional pumps could be added at that same location. Are we saying we would consider that before we would consider a much bigger project at a different plant?
Well, nothing's set in stone, I mean, if Lakeside by Tessera keeps on growing out the way it's growing in Sunset Park, and then you got the other ranches out there that's getting ready to have some stuff on it, you might wanna have another place where you have a straw in the lake where you're not going as far. So, I mean, there's all different options that,
I think the consideration there, Dave, if you don't mind my letting in, is that at some point, we're going to have to consider upgrading our water treatment plant one. And so at some point, we may have to look at purchasing property that will allow us to take water in at in a closer proximity than all the way out where the straw is in the water now. So a typical place would be right over here by the golf course where the river turns. There's a really deep water there, deep water place, and it's very close in proximity to water treatment plant number one. So we may consider purchasing property there in order to put another straw in the water there that is significantly larger than what we have right now. So that's what we're exploring, or that's what we're talking about there, exploring that possibility.
Okay, because that side of the lake in general, though, is more shallow, right? Than the,
Depends on where the way it curves, so it depends on the way the channel runs. Sometimes it's on the far side, sometimes it's on our side.
yeah.
okay,
But the way it goes past the current water treatment plant one in that Canyon Oaks area, that's the deep side.
That's the deep
So our
side.
straw is already in the
Yeah.
deep side.
That's right.
It'd be a matter of expanding that location
Yeah.
Right.
potentially.
okay, and I assume for that one, there would just be more discussion perhaps later.
And
on that one.
I think just a good place to interject, the subcommittee, as we were working, the CMP action, using the specific one we're talking about here, the language on CMP action was actually put in the comprehensive master plan 5 years ago, right? In some cases, the CMP action doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to us today, but we tried to be true to our charter of not changing the CMP. So
Gotcha.
in this case, the CMP action actually said, explore options for additional deep water utility access. And so, you know, as we were talking about it, one of the things we were, this language may not be the best language for the 2021, but I think Mr. Dowdle accurately captured that we know at some point we need to have some additional straw capability in that area near treatment plant number one. It is true that treatment plant number three has quite a bit of capability and growth capability on the other side of the peninsula.
Thank you. And then I think the last question I had here was under the airport section. There's one that says 2021, repair and resurface the runway, initiate new hangars pending TxDOT funding approval. So I'm assuming that means only if if TxDOT funding is obtained, and then if not, some sort of like alternative plan would need to be included in here to address the what if
Yeah.
scenario?
There is a current runway problem right now, okay? But they have to get all the other approvals from TxDOT and everything else. Paul can address it better because he knows more, and Kevin can address it better. And Aaron can address it better than I can tell you. on
I'm just saying,
airport.
like, is there like a plan B
That's a
in
long
case?
discussion.
Yeah,
But
there's
that is
not. Yeah, that's all I'm saying is,
okay.
would there be a plan B included at some point? in
Yes.
case? Gotcha,
It
okay.
would have to be.
All right, and that's all I had, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? I do have
What's that?
someone who has signed up. Sarah and Mark Teal.
Hi. My name is Sarah Teal. I'm speaking on behalf of me and my husband. And we are thinking of, it's kind of in a weird place, buying a property over by the old Barkay Ranch, the old Barkay Golf Course. And I saw on the master plan, the question that you asked, that city facilities were going to go there. And it's kind of this massive question mark over there for us as people buying by it, because it's a bunch of land and beautiful land over there. And so I guess we're kind of curious about what's going to happen to that land if we buy over there, because obviously whatever happens will not only affect the investment we put in that property, but our life on a day-to-day basis. And so I'm hearing from you that what the city has in mind is just to put trails over
Well,
there, or?
You got the Balcones Conservatory that's working on the trail system.
Right.
And they're they're looking to have some sort of trail going through
Exciting.
that area.
Okay.
So it was more in conjunction with what they're asking that we were trying to follow.
But that land is privately owned, is that right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so the city would buy portions of it to put trails through, or?
If I may, so council several weeks ago initiated a subcommittee to look at the future plan for municipal complex.
Right.
And so we're in very early stages of that discussion of what we might do, and that certainly could include acquiring land, could include, all kinds of options. There's no reason why any piece of private property, like the Barkay piece that you're interested in, there's no reason why the city couldn't consider acquiring that land and building something there, but at this point, we even, within the subcommittee, we don't have any plans formulated to bring back to council for approval. So there's
Right.
definitely no plan
Okay.
for any action on that property at this
Okay.
point.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because it's going to be probably next door to us, so
Yeah.
knowing what's going to happen there would be kind of a big deal for us.
So if we had a plan, we certainly could answer your question, but
Right.
at this point, we don't have.
Nothing, okay,
And I would suggest to you that the way land prices are going in Lago,
yeah.
it's gonna get more and more difficult for the city to purchase anything like that.
That's kind of what I thought when I
to be
saw
honest
it
with you.
there,
And-
yeah.
And when you talk about trails and things, I think it would be a public-private partnership potentially with the owner and developer of that land.
Right.
They would donate part of their land for trail systems that would enhance the value of their land.
Right.
That's kind of more my thought of what's likely to happen.
Well, when I looked at the map, obviously it's still zoned for the golf course, but then the future map says, oh, the POA is gonna maybe take it, but with land prices, is it really? And so I'm just kind of wondering how it's gonna be zoned and what we're gonna have next door, if we buy that land, so.
So just FYI, it came before council, this was, gosh, maybe a couple years ago. Someone was considering buying it and they were gonna put an RV park there.
Okay.
And that was denied by council.
Okay,
We
so there's
did-
gonna be some protection from us if we build our residence there.
All I can say is when that came forward, we denied that request.
Okay,
Um,
you
and-
consider the homeowners around that area?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
that gives me a lot of
And
confidence.
quite frankly, I'll go back to, because the value of the land is becoming so high.
Yeah.
They're gonna wanna do something that generates more revenue from it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just worried that like if it's zoned commercial, that we might end up with, a hotel across our lot from us. So I just didn't know what the plans were, but
Just
it sounds like
remember-
nobody knows,
No,
so.
we don't, and just remember, it would have to go through P and Z and then through council
Right.
before any kind of zoning change like that could happen.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
All right. So I see a hand out there. Somebody who didn't sign up would like to speak.
Darcy DeVoe. I just wanted to, because everybody's talking about the trails, and I find a real disconnect sometime with the committees, because A, if we have $70,000, we were just voting on getting the golf course some signs and directional signs to the golf course, but there's $70,000, so someone needs to direct that way for the, what you said, the
Wayfinding.
wayside? Yeah,
So it wasn't
wayside.
just for the golf course, it was
Right,
for the
right,
citywide and
right,
all the
right.
amenities.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a little bit of a disconnect when it comes down to all the committees and what they're trying to do, because I'm on Parks and Rec as well, and we're trying to get with Carl Dickerman, and he's going to send somebody from his department, which he does the Turnback Canyon. And we are going to try to have a meeting next month in July for Parks and Rec, and we're trying really hard to come up with an app or something that connects all the trails so that you can go to like the city app, click on a link and say, look, this is where all the trails are, and it will connect to Turnback Canyon, it will be Balcones, it will be Sunset Park. And so we're actively trying to work on this right now. We're hoping, Shalane is our liaison, we're hoping once we get more of an idea of what all we need to do, that it is something that can be in your master plan. And then one of my other questions was, on your master plan committee, did you have any women? No.
We had
Okay.
Sandra.
Staff.
City staff.
Sandra, okay, so that was, but nobody from like the community as a woman or anything like that was Because I don't remember when you guys said you were doing the master plan committee and you were looking for volunteers. I don't
This is
remember
all
that. No, okay.
council members.
Okay.
This is staff.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, thanks.
The way the CMP reads, the Planning and Zoning Commission is heavily involved. And so we included a member of Planning and Zoning Commission. And then there's also Building and Standards Commission also needed to define ordinance changes that they would implement. And so there was a member of Building and Standards. There was never a general call for public participation between, other than existing commission members of those two commissions.
Didn't we, or didn't you guys approve last year a committee that was going to look at the master plan or something and be talking to the community? I could swear that something was passed last year that, because it was a budget thing that was passed last year.
Mayor,
But
we
then
had the
COVID
people
came.
come and then COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, prior to COVID,
Yes. So I do
we
remember.
gapped
Yes,
strategies,
thank you.
Yeah.
but with COVID and everything, that was never executed. And so we have gone away from, that was a strategic plan.
Right.
And that's completely gone away because now we've gone another almost a year and a half now. And so now we're at the point we're updating, we got to update the comprehensive master plan. So there's really no use in doing a strategic plan anymore, so.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right, anything else from council? All right, I will call this meeting adjourned at 9:30.
Thanks for hanging out. Absolutely.
It probably wouldn't
Y'all
hurt
drive
if
safe.
you